services and how institutions are evolving towards autonomous operations. Please.
Thank you. I don't have a slide. Good afternoon. Am I audible? Awesome. Once again, good afternoon. And first of all, I would like to extend my thanks to Business Next for providing this opportunity to speak to this august audience. The topic today is very apt, and AI adoption to autonomous banking, building trust, scale, and inclusion. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about this topic, and I was speaking to Nishant, who's the CEO of Business Next, who will be joining us in a few minutes. This topic applies to literally any industry, right? I mean, you can think of, for example, beyond banking, if you were to apply to manufacturing, we are already talking about lights out manufacturing or dark factory as they call it, right? In data centers, there's already sort of dark data centers where you really don't have to do anything, and most of the work is taken care of by either the tech or very soon some physical robots as well to change the devices, etc. If you take that analogy further, you're seeing a lot of things happening even in agriculture, right? So you can imagine not exactly a lights out farming because probably plants won't work, but automated farming, which we are seeing a lot of examples of. Similarly in healthcare, retail, and everywhere. But one thing that we have noticed, and we have been thinking about this topic a lot for many years now, not just after the advent of AI. In fact, in 2021, as we started looking at different technologies which are constantly automating every aspect of our life, each of the workflows that businesses usually deploy, we are seeing that deployed at a very significant scale now, but it's been happening for some time. In fact, there is certain consistency that exists across industries. And just to give you an example, if you look at any industry and if you look at any customer that's a consumer or the customer of that industry, they all follow a certain life cycle. They usually discover a need, right? That there is something that they need to buy or consume from that industry that's going to help in their lives. And then that process is also getting significantly automated. Then if you look at exploration of that choices that they need to do to fulfill that need in terms of what products are available, we are seeing a lot of automation there. And I'll give you an example of banking in a minute. The third stage typically is after you have discovered a need and explored the choices as you go about buying a product, right? And then you use it, and if you need some help, ask and explore. And this is just one value chain which sort of consistently exists across, whether it's retail, financial services, within financial services across all the sub-verticals like banking, credit card, etc. In 2021, we came up with this concept called autonomous finance. And that autonomous finance is nothing but a lot of automation happening across, like, think of it like single-strand DNA molecules, or the cells sort of emerging across these different life cycle stages of the customer. And now we are reaching a stage where collectively all of these things are coming together, and we are inching or moving towards a world of truly autonomous finance. In this world, you can imagine the products even before you buy a product, even if you discover there's a need, there's someone who's analyzing your behavior, your aspirations, your life events, and they are triggering some sort of a marketing message which helps you discover there's a need that you have in your life, right? Without you actively looking for it. Then at the next stage, as you discover that need, that there's already a sort of barrage of maybe messages or some sort of personalized recommendation that you start seeing in terms of the choices that you have, without you even having to lift a finger. It's showing up in our smartphones or in the digital spheres that we frequent. And likewise, there are choices of automated buying, automated onboarding, and things like that. And we are seeing this trend evolve continuously across this. As we look into the future, what we believe as we move towards this world of autonomous finance, there are 4 things that will become really, really key for the industry. And these 4 things, one of them you'll probably already start seeing a lot of, is what we call as this industry becoming highly invisible, right? So you will see a lot of service, you will use a lot of services, but you truly would not know who's behind it. I mean, if you look at the credit nowadays, sometimes you end up buying credit card, you really don't know what's the bank behind it because there's a layer that's been run by someone else, right? So as we go forward, we'll see banking becoming even more assistive, more agentive, and very much personalized, and of course anticipatory, right? So it will become much, much more invisible. You will see a certain class of firms which will be controlling the relationship, but there's another class of firms which will become highly transaction oriented, and you really would not know how many firms were involved in the process of serving your need. The second important thing that will happen beyond invisible, which has already started to manifest, the banking and the financial services sector will become highly connected. And already we are seeing signs of it, but you can imagine a world where it becomes even more connected, right? Open banking obviously is a step in that direction that we see. Now, in that sort of world, ecosystems and platforms become obviously much, much more important, and we'll see as we go into the panel some of the discussions around how AI is powering some of these ecosystems, how businesses will deliver experiences which are highly connected, right? How they're integrating digital and physical touch points. For example, we are hearing about banks which are introducing rings, which are used not only for payments, but for powering data for other industries that they could be connected to, such as healthcare, right? If you look at on the commercial side, on the SME side, there's a lot of flow that's starting to get captured, and that data flow is being shared across different participants in the industry, and they are delivering services to the SMEs. The third thing beyond invisible and connected would be insights driven, and I cannot overstate the importance of insights driven in a forum which is around AI, and obviously every insight that we talk about today is going to become even more intelligent. It will be generated much more intelligently, and banks will capitalize on customer trust to create value from those insights, because banks, for all we know, or financial services firm in general, are the biggest custodian of trust, and they're beneficiaries of the trust, and they are the ones who create the trust in the first place. So we'll see a lot of that happening as we go forward with respect to insights driven, because all those life cycle stages that I talked about will increasingly get a lot of insights embedded into them. And finally, and the most important thing, which I cannot leave today without talking, is how banks and financial services firms will become much, much more purposeful. Because in the melee of all the things tech and all the innovation and all the automation, you cannot lose sight of the customer and what essentially they value. So we will see customers will rely, or rather bank or work with financial services firms who they believe are much, much more relatable to them, share similar values with them, or someone whom they can trust. So invisible, connected, insights-driven, and purposeful. These are the four elements which will become increasingly important as we go towards the world of autonomous finance. Now, what will you need to build this kind of world? Do we have all the ingredients or the building blocks in place? And I would say we are fortunate to live in a country which is constantly expanding the digital public infrastructure that we have created, and that's already powering a large number of use cases. Obviously, we are all familiar with UPI and Aadhaar and everything else, but I'm just want to make it a bit interactive. How many of you in the room have heard of this thing called ULI, or Unified Lending Interface? Just by show of hands. Almost 50%, a little bit less. How many of you have heard of this thing called OCEN, which stands for Open Credit Enablement Network? Very few. And how many of you have heard of TREDS? I'm expecting even fewer hands. Okay, I'll just give you an example of how we are, as a country, we are expanding the stack that we have created, which is so commonly used by people like you and I in our consumer life, day to day, the UPI and everything, to say the commercial banking SMEs. We have all seen the UPI moment, but as we go forward, there's another undercurrent of capabilities that are getting built and expanded upon, which will be used by people who are in a very different sphere of life. For example, kirana stores, or small merchants and SMEs, etc. And in there, we're going to see the concept will move from what used to be an asset-backed lending, you needed to have some sort of a collateral, a land or a property, to what we call as a flow-based lending, right? With the amount of activity that you have, that you're doing, the data that you're collecting will give the banks the confidence to lend to you. Do you have, for example, 3 months of constantly, paid invoices or something? That'll give banks the confidence to give you something. And that's what we're going to build through these systems. ULI essentially combines all sorts of data. For example, your land assets, your other demographic data, and provides banks a complete picture of you as an individual or as someone who they can extend credit to. Oken makes it possible. That's a protocol which allows any digital platform or a commerce app to extend credit openly. And Threads is even more unique. It's basically helps SMEs to get their invoices paid even before their buyer is going to pay them. So normally payment terms of T plus 30 or 90 or whatever, but SMEs can put their invoices up on a system where their buyer can acknowledge that invoice, and then there are banks which are looking at the system on a regular basis, and they can pay that SME money right then and there, improving their working capital situation. And then banks will actually be kind of bidding for that. The SMEs will have a choice whether they get the invoice paid from Bank A, which is charging 9% interest rate, versus Bank B, which is charging 7% interest rate. So all of that is already starting to happen, and Threads is the platform which helps do it. So as you can imagine, the world around us is getting increasingly autonomous, and we have all the ingredients and building blocks in place. So this is the future that we are building. And today, as we go further, Business Next will share some of those examples as to what they are doing, and then we're going to come on to the panel. So I just wanted to introduce what the idea for the conversation today would be, but happy to have conversations as we go forward. So thank you so much, and I'm going to hand it over to Anjan to come and talk about his bit, and then we'll start the panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for your insightful perspective and for setting the stage so effectively. And now I would like to invite all the panelists on the stage. Mr. Gurshan Rai Bansal, who's CGM and Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at India Post Payment Bank. He's driving large-scale financial inclusion and digital transformation across one of the world's most expensive banking networks. And now Mr. Nishant Singh, founder and CEO of Business Next, he's at the forefront of building AI-powered platforms enabling banks to move forward autonomous banking. And now to build on that, I'd like to invite Mr. Anjan Pandey, who's VP of Consulting at Business Next, and who works closely with financial institutions on the ground to translate AI strategy into measurable business outcomes. So Anjan, over to you.
Thank you so much. Hello everyone, and very good afternoon. I hope the post-lunch syndrome is not kicking in yet, right? Can we have a good round of applause for the session? Okay, that's a nice energy. Thank you so much. So since we are at the AI Summit, and the fellow panelists before set a very good context as to how the industry is moving forward to it, we had a privilege to work with the largest financial institutes across the globe, and would like to share a few learnings as to what we have learned over our journey, and then we'll take the discussion from there. So we are Business Next, and what brings us to this sweet spot of AI and Bharat AI is that, we learn from 1 million bankers daily. The platform is used extensively to power the financial ecosystem of the country. More than 1 billion customers interact with the platform daily to do their service transactions or get a product from a bank or a financial institution or resolve a query. The platform is overall driving a huge penetration across the workforce in the financial institutions and is being hardly regarded by some of the leading industry analysts and the big fours of the world. To bring to a context, the platform is curated more than 2 decades of learning from learning on the entire BFSI chain, not just from the banking, but from the insurance industries, all the way from India to Southeast Asia to US and all the other perspectives. That also brings us to a very unique spot of understanding the regulator activism across each of these areas, because as Ashutosh mentioned, AI with guardrails and ethics is going to be the forefront of this generation. So how does, as the AI world evolves, how does economies transact from a banking perspective, and how does trust guardrails are established, is something that we are very uniquely positioned at. And we are very humbled to be trusted by some of the largest financial institutions in the country, and very humbled to power the fintech wave in the country more than 2 decades back, when products were really not coming out of India, but one of the initial companies to bring that wave, built from India, built for the world, is something that's been the mantra for the company for so long. And I think the next slide is very special to all of us, and we all should take a pride in this. We are the only first Indian company to make on the top, zooming past all the Silicon Valley players in the financial space, and bringing Business Next right up on the top as the best CRM stack money could buy today for banks and financial institutes. This is being vetted by Forrester, very, very special wave, and we are very truly humbled to be here featuring there. And we continue to learn more and build more this. But what powers us today is the core philosophy of our company, and the vision driving the product is we understood the fact that products and technologies and business will fundamentally evolve every 3 to 5 years. If I just plot 15 years on a timeline, I think all the veterans in the hall will appreciate this. When internet was born, everybody was building net banking, right? I don't need to visit bank, I can do it from my home. I mean, that was the new wave. 5 years fast track, Steve Jobs brings touch and iPhone, and everyone was on mobile bank, right? 5 years fast track, somebody brings chat GPT, and people are saying, okay, now I don't need to even do mobile, I can just type and get things done, right? And we sincerely, thought this vision back in 2018, and we have kept this slide like this. And today we are in 2026, and we are exactly talking autonomous banking, because we fundamentally believe that humans will continue to do best what they are good at. That means building trust, relationship, empathy, and all the human things, while machines should be doing all the things which machine is good at. Fraud monitoring, transaction scanning, fraud detection, cyber attacks, and all of those things. So this is being the foundation for us to think and put the vision in front of the world. But let me delve into a perspective of how do we see the banks of today or the financial institutes of today, and how does this transition will happen over a period of year. So, and excuse me, I mean, this could be a little touchy slide for some of the bankers, but what we see today, banking is, over so many years, banks have added capabilities by buying stacks. So every now and then when a new regulation or a technology comes, there is a bolt-on strategy in banks to go and acquire a product and start building on top of it. While that leads to, in some of the inside view of the bank, is actually there are too many systems, complex problems and brittle integrations to solve for it. And that leads into, what we call as data paralysis. Now comes the AI age, and how do you train your AI on so many systems of different data types? And I'm sure some of the bankers here would appreciate that there are still DB2s of the world running in the banks. While there are some new age Cassandra or the ClickHouse of the world, but there is still DB2 which is somewhere and nobody wants to touch it. So, how do you bring all of that convergence and bring autonomous and AI becomes a challenge, and is a conversation that boardrooms are now trying to drive at. But here is the good part, that banks that we were trying to fundamentally run, it was a hard battle for us, but we did it. So we from the day one started building the product on the what we call as single entity model. So we said, when banks have to get more capability, does not mean the banks have to acquire more systems. Your system should be self-upgrading and learning to keep you on the best stack ever. So, with that philosophy in mind, we built all our capabilities for BFSI, keeping the single entity model at the center of the conversation. What that does mean is, banks that are running with us today autonomously have a data structure on which AI can be fed on, or on which the intelligence can be federated. Now, those could be our models, banks' model, anyone's models that they want. But this underlying problem is being taken care inherently by the dividend of our technology architecture, which is something that, after so many years, Forrester could recognize, and, hence the conversation in BFSI. So that's us. What we bring to the table is solutions around financial services for you to solve your customer pains, digital, agentic AI, and all the other good capabilities. We have a booth down in Hall 1. More than almost, I invite every one of you to visit that stall once. And moving on from there, how do we see banks take this shift? Is eventually the product and channels will collapse in banks. Today we discussed between the product teams and channels team. What we certainly feel that products and channels will eventually merge. I'll talk to a banker, and the banker will write my query to a system which will be intelligently given by a principal or the autonomous brain of the bank, and my offers and my needs will be catered then and there. So what we used to run today, running complex segmentations, offer churning, all of that will be gone. We'll be just collapsing products and channels in what we call as the principle, which is something that Business Next is now unveiling first at the AI Summit today, is to what we are building for the future of AI wave to come. But let's say this being the future, let me give you a time plot as to how to reach this generation. So as I plotted you the time, if you remember, we started with digital banking. What we are now thinking is actually cognitive banking. What does cognitive banking means to you is it's not just bolt-on AI models on top of your banking stack. It's actually the intelligence systems which are connected by your shared reasoning. So one layer senses something and the other layer responds to address and do an STP on top of it, eventually leading you to the autonomous revolution. Let me just double click for you for 1 minute. What does cognitive banking mean for us? So think of this like a 6-layer architecture where each and every functional component of the bank is being taken care by an intelligent system. So right from identifying who I am as a customer, which is typically your identity intelligence, to figuring out what risk I might carry for a particular asset product or a liability product, which is your risk intelligence models, to figuring out if I'm saying something in human language, what is my intent? Am I looking for a case or a service or a new product? And finding out whether I'm contractually eligible to sign a paper for a mortgage lending, yes or no, that's your contract intelligence. Eventually leading you to giving me something end of the conversation, which is a value intelligence. So it's not just about getting one single model and putting it on your system. It's actually your shared layers of intelligence models acting together like a living organism to address to the customer need in an omni-channel fashion. So that's what we mean to say by cognitive banking, which is the era that is happening today. But let's take a look into the future of tomorrow. What does tomorrow hold for us? And if I were to just double click you on what autonomous banking could mean for all of us, is there going to be 2 pillars. One, there is going to be, as Ashutosh mentioned, banks will be invisible and a lot of things will be done by the machine. At the same time, there still be humans in the loop, which will be far more armed and far more informed to have a better and meaningful conversations. So we have broken down into 2 concepts, which is one is your autonomous architecture, and the second one, which we are calling as a second brain, or let's say an augmented banker. So while the autonomous banking architecture will be like a multi-sensory organism, reading from your call center scripts, all the way to making a decision from your principal core, which will be feeding from the data which banks today have, your data warehouses and all the single entities that we've been bringing, all the way to bringing it to the product processors. And while empowering the humans to do what humans are good at, which is the second brain architecture, and AI will do basically the grunt work, understanding data patterns, compliance monitoring, transaction monitoring, pattern recognition. All of this will be offloaded to AI, as Ashutosh was saying, somewhere happening in the backend. Human doesn't care. While humans do more human things, what they are good at, building relationships, empathy, ethical judgments is something that humans will be good at. And probably the last slide where, you know, we sincerely feel that banks will no longer be competing on a better product or a distribution channel. What banks will be competing on is your intelligence density, how intelligent you are across each of these layers, how good is your institutional memory, how good can you take decisions with trust and scale, and eventually it will not be the headcounts that will give you the growth. It will be the intelligence per headcount that will actually result into what we are going to see tomorrow banks leading into. So with that note, I'll take a pause and I'd like to request insights from the panel to build further on this topic. And in case there are any questions, we'd like to take it at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anjan. And we now have a great foundation, both from an industry research perspective and the real-world implementation experience. I'd like to open the discussion to a broader panel, and with such accomplished voices on the stage, let's explore what autonomous banking truly means in practice. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Well, so I think you have met most of us here, well, at least two of us here. We are also joined by Gursharan from Indian Payments Bank. So maybe we can start the conversation with you, Gursharan, that considering that Indian Payments Bank, India Post Payment Bank, sorry, has been in existence for almost 4+ years now, yeah, and it's 7 years. Sorry, yeah, 7 years. Thank you. But it's probably one of the most understated banks, which is present in major part of the hinterlands of the country, and many customers are being served by it. So what do you think of this whole movement of the digital to autonomous and cognitive? What exactly is happening at your bank?
Correct. So, as Nishant has just shown, we started India Post Payment Bank on the 1st of September 2018, you know. And, you know, the journey has been, you know, entirely digital, you know. Today, we are amongst the largest banks in a journey of almost 7.5 years only. Today, we are proud to say that we have a customer base of 13.5 crore customers approximately, and not even a single paper signed in the bank, not even a single application form signed in the bank. And today, you know, we are competing on various fields, on various parameters. And, you know, we have been pioneers on digitization and, you know, introducing new products, services, etc. And specially targeted at the people who are unbanked, right? You know, for example, if you imagine, you know, tribal in a village in Chhattisgarh or in Andhra, or a person living in the far corners of Arunachal or Himachal, you know. So these people, so far, nobody was reaching to them for banking, you know. And also, the other objective from the supplier side, I would say, that from the government side, they were finding it extremely difficult to provide them the sustenance benefits and various other benefits directly to them without any middleman, you know. They were finding it extremely difficult. So what we did was we digitized the whole process. We digitized the account opening and various other products of banking, remittances and payments and you know, bill payments or you know, insurance and loans, credits, everything we digitized. And this process was so simple, so intuitive, so reliable, so trustworthy, and of course, as Nishant mentioned, channels सारे merge हो जाएंगे, but our key channel of delivery was assisted. And I must say that that assisted channel had an existence in the lives of these people for almost the last 150 years, right? So they had a trust. और उस ट्रस्ट के बेसिस पे उसने वहाँ जा कर के हमारे ग्रामीण डाक सेवक ने, पोस्टमैन ने वहाँ पे खाते खोले, और वो खाता सिर्फ 3 मिनट में खाता खुला, आधार कार्ड के बेसिस पे खुला, KYC उसने किया, और उसके बेसिस पे the cost of opening a khata, the cost of opening, you see that while you are expanding the reach, you have to also manage the economy. You have to also manage the cost. तो हमारा जो कॉस्ट था एक खाता खोलने का less than 4 rupees, जो कि नॉर्मल एक किसी भी नेशनलाइज बैंक या यूनिवर्सल बैंकिंग प्लेटफॉर्म को 500 या 600 रुपया लगता है, क्योंकि वो क्या करता है, और उसमें उसको 3 मिनट नहीं, उसको 15 दिन और 30 दिन लगते हैं, राइट? वी ओपनड इट इन 3 minutes and we gave him just a QR card, opened his account, and lo and behold, he was ready to bank. We gave him a mobile application, we gave him a virtual debit card. We didn't give him a physical debit card. We gave him a virtual debit card, we gave him UPI application, we gave him an Aadhaar enabled payment system. Aadhaar ATM जो है, कैश निकालने के लिए अंगूठा लगाओ, पैसा निकालो from anywhere in the country. So we gave that, and that is how we started. Because see, this is a journey not for people like us who are sitting in the room. We are very technologically savvy. Imagine in our place, imagine a person, let us say our, mother or our father or our grandparent or maybe our maid or our driver who are not so tech savvy and don't trust, some application with money. So uske piche there is a face, and that face, that person, that physical touch, that empathy was provided by the postman, and that is how we started. So today, out of 13.5 crore customers, we have about 5 crore mobile app downloads. 5 crore mobile app downloads, and today we have, as we are expanding, we do almost 3.5 crore. Financial transactions, payment transactions on a daily basis. And, this is translating to almost 10% growth every month. So we are growing at a faster pace than the industry in terms of even UPI. So today amongst all the banks, we are the 9th largest and competing with all the existing banks in the industry. So, we have various laurels to our credit. And as these, conversations also about AI and automation, so we are strengthening our assisted delivery. Assisted delivery by using items or stuff like Sales Copilot, and people who are doing mobile banking, so in the DIY mode. So we are trying to provide them nudges, push notifications, SMSs to, buy insurance or, renew their insurance or, keep on continue transacting or, various other offers and incentives that we keep on offering to the customers, and also our sales force. So sales force is huge, almost 2.5 lakh people who are delivering the service, and though that sales force is also automated. That sales force is just having a device, which we have provided them from our own cost. That device is a micro ATM device along with a biometric. And that device is fully controlled, managed through MDM services, that is MDM Mobile Device Management Services, remotely over the air. And there is a SIM which is provided, which is inbuilt into the device. So that delivery channel itself is, is humongous. And imagine, a Gramin Dak Sevak who is just about 10th or 12th pass, उसके लिए उसको train करना, सबसे पहले उसको ready करना, and उसको certify करना, because RBI says कि अगर आपने banking service deliver करना है through any channel or any person, he has to be IIBF exam certified. तो उसको कम से कम जो है 7 दिन का training देना है, training देने के बाद उसको exam pass करना है, certify करना है, and then only he is ready to provide that banking service. उसके बाद इंश्योरेंस के लिए IRDA सर्टिफाइड कि आपको IRDA के लिए आपको एक सर्टिफिकेशन लेना है. अगर आपने आधार की कोई सर्विस देनी है, UIDI बोलता है आपको एक सर्टिफिकेशन करना है, उसके लिए ट्रेनिंग करना है, राइट? देन आवर ओन प्रोडक्ट्स एंड सर्विसेज, जिसके लिए वो सडनली वो भूल जाएगा, उसको लोकल लैंग्वेज में उसको ट्रेन करना है. तो लोकल लैंग्वेज में उसके पास वीडियोस होने चाहिए कस्टमर को बताने के लिए. ही हैज़ टू हैव वीडियोस दैट ही कैन शो टू द कस्टमर इन द लोकल लैंग्वेज. सो ऑल दैट असिस्टेंस, ऑल दैट स्टफ इज बीइंग प्रोवाइडेड digitally. So that is the good part. और इसके बाद भी सर और बहुत सारी बातें कर सकते हैं, but the biggest factor now, the challenge that is coming to us is the risk factors. तो आज की तारीख में आप सब लोग देख रहे हैं, गरीब आदमी है, ही इज़ वेरी गलिबल, ही इज आई डजंट नो, उसको कई बारी पढ़ने में मैसेज भी नहीं समझ में आता है, एंड ही नॉर्मली यू नो इज़ डिपेंडेंट ऑन यू नो द सीटी ऑफ द हाउस, जो हम सीटीओ बोलते हैं। किसके रेफर कर रहा हूँ आप जानते हैं? सिटी ऑफ द हाउस इज ए चाइल्ड। जो बच्चे हैं वो आज की तारीख में पेरेंट्स के जो हैं घर का है सीटीओ हैं, तो उनको हर चीज़ में उनको इन्वॉल्व करना पड़ता है। तो जैसे मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ, जैसे लाड़की बहना स्कीम जो थी, दैट वाज लॉन्च्ड बाय मध्य प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट। अब उसमें बहुत सारे महिलाओं के हमने खाते खोले। अब महिलाओं के जब खाते खोले तो हर महीने 2,000 रुपया उसके खाते में क्रेडिट होने लगा। अब जैसे ही पैसा क्रेडिट होता था तो महिलाएं जो हैं वो पोस्ट ऑफिस में लाइन लग जाती थी। आधे किलोमीटर की लाइन लगी हुई है कि हमें पैसा निकालना है। अब 2,000 रुपये मिले हैं, उसको निकालें ताकि कहीं पैसा वापस मोदी जी ले ना लें। अब सही में यही बोलते थे वो लोग कि मोदी जी की पैसा वापस ना मंगा लें, इसलिए हम तो पैसा आज ही निकालेंगे। और वो बेचारी महिलाएं जो हैं 5-5 किलोमीटर से 10-10 किलोमीटर से आ रही हैं, लाइन में लग रही हैं, धूप में लग रही हैं। तो हमने क्या करा, एक स्पीकर सिस्टम एक लिया। एक स्पीकर सिस्टम में एक रिकॉर्डेड मैसेज हमने प्ले करना शुरू किया हिंदी में, और वहाँ पे पोस्टर लगवाए कि आप जो है अपने आप घर में बैठे हुए पैसा निकाल कर सकते हैं, इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, किराना की दुकान पे खरीदारी कर सकते हैं, आपको पोस्ट ऑफिस पैसा निकालने के लिए ज़रूरत नहीं है आने की। और वो हमने उसको ये लिखा उसमें कि आप इसका एक फ़ोटो खींचें, फ़ोटो खींच के घर में किसी बच्चे को या जिसको मोबाइल बैंकिंग डाउनलोड करनी आती है, जो आपको सिखा सकता है, उसको आप दिखाएं कि ये स्टेप्स हैं उसमें, 1 2 3 4 5 ये स्टेप्स हैं, मोबाइल बैंकिंग डाउनलोड करिए और घर से ही बैठ करके यूज़ करिए। और आप मानेंगे 50 to 70% ऑफ दी विमेन दे डाउनलोडेड दी ऐप, और वो प्रोसेस लगा उसमें, उन्होंने डाउनलोड किया और उसके बाद फिर रश जो है वो धीरे धीरे कम हुआ। एंड इनफैक्ट जो एमपी के जो चीफ मिनिस्टर थे, व्हेन ही हर्ड अबाउट इट, ही वाज रियली वेरी हैप्पी कि चलिए आपने मोबाइल बैंकिंग की तरफ भी लोगों का ध्यान आकर्षित किया और उनको सिखाया, उनको पढ़ाया। अब हमारे पास चैलेंज जो सबसे बड़ा अब आने लगा है, विच इज़ दी रिस्क, कि ट्रांजैक्शंस के लिए बहला फुसला करके ओटीपी ले लेते हैं या उसके पैसे जो हैं वो निकाल लेते हैं, उनको फ्रॉडलेंट एक्टिविटी में फंस जाते हैं लोग। तो रिस्क मॉनिटरिंग और जो है एएलएम एंड ऑल दिस एएमएल एक्टिविटीज़, इसके लिए हम लोगों ने अभी बहुत सारे साइबर कंट्रोल एंड रिस्क कंट्रोल मेजर्स जो हैं उसके अंदर बैंक को अभी आज की तारीख में इन्वेस्टमेंट करना पड़ रहा है। So there are processes like, there are risk module like RTTM, real-time transaction monitoring modules. There are processes where we keep on analyzing month on month. We get stop the payments, restrict the payments in hotspot areas, restrict the payments for certain people who are doing more transactions, sudden transactions. यानी कि अगर मान लीजिए एक अकाउंट जो है फॉर एग्जांपल अनयूज्ड है फॉर द लास्ट से 6 months और 7 months, सडनली उसमें वो ट्रांजैक्ट करने लगता है और बहुत सारी वॉल्यूम ऑफ ट्रांजेक्शन 10, 15, 20 ट्रांजेक्शन पर डे की होने लगी, और सडनली वॉल्यूम एंड वैल्यू ऑफ ट्रांजेक्शन सडनली इंक्रीज, उसके ऊपर इमीडिएटली वी पुट अ कर्व because we know that some kind of fraudulent activity might happen. So these kind of, we have certain rules and regulations which we, apply so as to prevent the frauds and these kind of things. So with that,
Well,
I think I've spoken
the great
quite a
story.
lot.
So please
Thank you.
give a big round of applause for India's Post Payments Bank. Besides the fact that digital and the AI and autonomous, one thing it clearly ticks mark on is the inclusion. That's something we, as a country, being so diverse and having sort of different stratas of society with the level of education and everything, I think it's great to have this story of inclusion. So thank you so much. I think I'm going to maybe go to you, Nishant, now, because I think you're the only person who stayed silent all this while. Based on what you've heard so far, and you speak to banks in India and banks outside, what do you think is the time frame in which we're going to move from where we are today and all this AI initiatives, and then you have your examples of agents sort of coming in and getting deployed across different processes. What's the time frame that we need to look at for any bank which is probably looking to set up their or start their journey towards autonomous banking? Maybe in broad strokes from process perspective, which processes are more mature, which are less mature, where exactly will be when it comes to autonomous finance or autonomous banking in say 3 to 5 years time frame?
Thank you, guys. Um, okay, so let me break this answer into two parts. Where are banks today? What Anjan built for you was what we call as the start of cognitive banking, where intelligence that was in silos is coming together and forming the first ever intelligence layer. And there are almost like 6 classifications of intelligence we do, including the risk that Sir was talking about right now, being one of the live counters on that. So where we see today is banks are in the early phase where last year they were deploying a lot of AI-driven use cases. So these are really edge use cases driven by AI, largely trying to drive productivity. What we see this year is a rise of agents. So whether it's agents that we run for banks or agents own, like banks' own team trying to build agents, what you're seeing globally is a shift of consumption from what classically used to be LLM training to inference side. And therefore, what you're seeing banks today is to not only dealing with 1 or 2 agents, but in some of our banks, we are now starting to deal with fleet of agents, which means multiple agents. And therefore, as you can believe, your bottleneck shifts to things like how do you govern this pattern, right? How do you risk and orient this pattern? And how do you orchestrate this on scale? So to me, banks are at this place of cognitive banking where you can think of that having 3 things. One is this intelligence layer that can also execute. Marry that with a proprietor data stewardship, which means intelligence of data, intelligence of individuals, that kind of really allows that risk spectrum to spread. And eventually, this orchestration framework that kind of allows this to be done on scale with multiple agents trying to run and finish the job. And we do see over the next 3 to 4 years, as digital second brains kick in the bank, a lot of what, let's say, an RM does classically today will start to migrate to one instruction set to an agent. So literally, we believe 60 to 70% of what you do daily as a grunt work can be migrated to this second brain architecture. That's what we see in the first 3 months. First 3 years. And I think after that, it's a very radical take that we have on autonomous because, you know, all innovations are compounding in nature. You came up with a wheel and that then enabled automobiles and stuff like that. So now imagine if we had this level of intelligence improving, and then you also have an industry that starts to kind of deal in, imagine for a minute you had a digital rupee, which you have today, but imagine if it goes on scale. Then you have a currency which is programmable also. It can be auto-tagged, the currency can carry KYC. Imagine a currency like this with an autonomous infrastructure becomes very programmable, right? Therefore, the shape of how eventually autonomous banks will evolve is very different. So I'll not go into that right now. If we have time, definitely go back and visit this. But I think in the next 3 years, expect banks to be a combination of these things, working hard on the unified intelligence layer, not intelligence in silos, not intelligence as a bolt-on. The second is the proprietary data. Data warehouses, unfortunately, are not great places to pull decisions from. Single entity model, as we describe it, where you are live sensing data about an individual. That's what's going to power a lot of this next generation of use cases. And then, of course, the ability to orchestrate this on scale. Now, when you bring all of this, you can apply it into any condition because what AI today gives you is a complete multimodal structure. So if imagine the Indian Post Bank, people can now talk to their applications in 11 Indian languages. If you look at how collection calling has started to invert today, you have a majority of collection callings now happening on a AI-based platform. And what is the tuning we are doing? We are not trying to teach it. Let's just take an example. we're not teaching it Telugu, we're teaching it the dialects of Telugu now. So that is the compounding effect. So like different districts have different accents, and then the fine tuning of that. So you're already seeing this. We see this move into a more central governance structure. Today, obviously, banks are grappling with governance of this, because imagine if every application was to bring a LLM voice and all of that. How do you set up a universal guardrail? How do you set up universal risk management around that? So again, those are things I think which is going to keep banks busy for the next 2 years. But again, very, very excited for where we are, very excited for India, because we are the use case capital of the world. Very excited because we live in a country that has built such a spectacular digital public infrastructure. And we haven't stopped, we have just got started. So that married with our diversity, married with our pressure of cost per transaction, married with the technology that we're enabling, is what has us really excited. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's a great answer. So I'm going to build on that a little bit, and then I'm going to maybe come to you with another question, and then probably we'll open for the audience to ask questions. So to the examples that you're giving, right, and they are great. For example, in conversational banking, you're talking about different languages being used to communicate with the people in their vernacular, right? So all of that, and that's all great. However, for banking to be truly become autonomous, or for that matter, any part of financial services, or for that matter, any industry, right? There has to be a lot more personalization that needs to happen, right? So for example, if I'm speaking to someone in whatever language that they speak, unless the conversation also has the elements that matter to them as an individual, not just because we're speaking the same language, but what life stage they are in, what sort of needs that they have, what sort of transaction history that they have. So there's a lot of work between the agents that's speaking to that individual and what you have in the organization in terms of the context, right? And that's where I'm assuming a lot of engineering that needs to happen. Today we are obviously all talking about RAG and how we inform the models, but we are kind of working on this idea around context engineering, which is essentially about getting all that data which is sitting in your structured as well as non-structured sources, and you engineer them in a manner and build the pipelines to make sure the agents are fully informed of what that particular individual lifestyle is. But as you do that, you mentioned the responsible AI, the ethics and all that, and now we have DPDP also in place, because we want to make sure the privacy is not sort of breached and other ethical considerations are taken care of. So what are your thoughts on that? Because I think we will be remiss if we don't touch upon, like you said, the guardrails that the organizations and the banks need to put in place to make sure we are not stepping in the wrong direction.
I think that's a very valuable feedback. What's the role of privacy in all of this? Let me just dumb it down to that simple, right? See, the very fact that you need to know a person, you want to have intelligent conversation, means you need to know a lot about it. As your question itself assumed, these are structures we know about a person. And then there comes an act which says, I have a right to forget it. Yes, you can. But where is the world going to? The world is going to what we call as the power of one bank. You don't need a standard product. You need a product that is structured to your need, how you get paid. Maybe you have a bonus at the end of the year. Everything has to be sharpened, not in broad strokes, but in one stroke. For that, we do need to understand you as a character. Okay, so the AI cognitive structure is very different from a human cognitive structure. So imagine AI. It can remember almost 1 million tokens today in context, and it can actually draw deductions out of that context, not get fatigue and so on. So is it possible to do a power of one banking when you have a right to forget? The answer is yes. We call it archetypes. And in a classical model of marketing, you try to break segmentation to, let's say, a segmentation of 15,000. And that's, let's just say, complicated enough if you have 13 crore customers, because they will behave like that. So if you kind of think you can put archetypes on steroids, I can still have the right to forget data, but define you very closely with that archetype and still meet my aspiration as a bank. I think right to privacy is very important, but I also feel it is hard to implement with just a simple jurisdiction. Look at every place you leave a data trail on. Forget the banks. Banks are probably the most regulated entity where you have a footprint, and regulators are always, anybody who runs a bank or NBFC knows how hard it is to do an RBI audit or in any other company. So I think the point now is, yes, DPDP Act is important. We are figuring out ways to respect that, but we are also figuring out ways to remember the context in which we engage with you. Does that make sense?
Thank you. So I think we have kind of touched upon most of the points that we wanted to touch as a panel with respect to the privacy, the inclusion and ethics and everything. Now maybe we can open up for the audience to ask questions. You want to add something, Anjan? Yeah, sure.
So maybe not as a question, but maybe to you, Nishant. With all the AI thing happening across, and so much things about AI, just from a normal, ordinary citizen side, what changes for me, or any implementations that you may have seen with any public sector bank where AI has given the dividend back to the citizen, let's say helping me file my grievance or helping me solve something which could have taken me days, like sir said, some AI happening around it. So if you could give a real example for the audience here as to, what will eventually give back to the citizens as to when banks embrace all of this?
Okay, that was the unofficial question. Joking. But no, I think that's a very good question. Like, I think what we may be talking may sound abstract, 30,000 feet, but that's how fundamentally strategies are made and then curated to execute. But look at SBI as a bank. Okay, I'm just picking up SBI because, again, they have 40 crore customers. That's 40%, 30% of India. And one of the biggest way they've used AI with us is basically like what we built them was a CRH portal. It's a portal that speaks 11 languages. You can come and type in English. We will automatically understand it, recategorize it to understand what exactly is the category, subcategory of problem you're trying to tell us. Then we'll go get the transactions that you may be talking about. You can simply flag those transactions and bingo, will go to resolve for it. So literally what you're seeing now is not a need to walk to a branch, not a need to dial up a phone. You can do this on a mobile without any footprint, not requiring to download any application, okay, and not learning any UX. Because today what has happened is a lot of focus was on, oh, how good is my UI? It's gone. The new world is not about UX. The new world is about agents. The new language is English, right? And the new language is voice. So in the phase 2 that you see us launch, it's basically you having a conversation with the application and not even typing that, right? And again, we're still following your instruction. We're still doing these things. Great experience for a customer. He can do this at 2 o'clock at night, not wait for the official banking hours. He can do this without learning anything. He can do this without downloading anything. Okay, so again, that's just an example. And one will think how well this will be absorbed in a diverse ecosystem like SBI. You'll be amazed. We do more than 5.5 lakh hits every day. 5.5 lakh. Can you imagine how much load deflection is happening with just one single page? That is so smart, right? So that's an example of how India is very boldly stepping in and creating experiences which are unmatched anywhere in the world. And I think that is why, I want to go back to that point. It is not a matter of do we build LLM or not, we can catch up to that. That's a little bit like fuel in your car, right? I mean, it's really what you do with that fuel. And I think given the agency that we have, that diversity, the scale, the DPI, I think we are the learning ground for the world. We will export these ideas to the world, not the other way around. Thank you. I think now for the audience.
Yeah, just to add to your point, how this is going to benefit the end customer, right? So, we have lots and lots of examples. Like, for example, I just mentioned, something like, how we try to, solve the problem of people trying to withdraw cash. So in our segment, again, as I have mentioned that, a customer who is who's dealing successfully with us, who is transacting banking with us, probably there are so many other products and services which we can probably pitch to him, but there's nobody who can physically go and pitch to him, right? And these are something, and that too, as Nishant mentioned, that, in their local language and something in a personalized manner. So for example, we have a beautiful product which is called accidental insurance. Now, example that let's say PM Kisan Swanidhi ka paisa jaise hi khate mein aaya. Now Kisan, he works in the field, he drives his two-wheeler, he works on the harvester, he works on that, chara wali machine and all that, and he's prone to so many accidents, so many, and women who are working day in, day out. So what we do is we prompt them to buy accident insurance, and which is coming at a cost of just about 500 rupees for the whole year for a 10 lakhs rupees cover, and which is giving OPD, IPD benefits also in case of accidents. So imagine, this kind of products reaching out or coming out back to the customer, because we cannot depend, finally we cannot depend on our agent only, to bring these, products to the knowledge of the end user or the customer. And similarly, students, we can prompt them to download the UPI application, do digital transactions, or use the virtual debit card and stuff. So many things, it is ultimately the customer who benefits. For example, we did almost, last year, we did almost 28 lakh insurance policies of this accident insurance and all. And we collected almost 100 crore of premium, but ultimately the amount of claim that we paid was in thousands, and number of claims, and amount we paid was 125 crore. So imagine the number of families who got benefited from these claims. Accidents, kuch ka hua, kuch ka death hua, and the kind of, and they were never expecting कि 10 lakh का बीमा हम लोग को मिलेगा. So these are the kind of stuff. ऐसे हम लोग का health insurance के बहुत सारे products हैं. इसी तरह से अभी mutual fund investments. For example, our finance minister, she has mentioned in her budget speech that IPPB will act as a catalyst for financial inclusion through the distribution network. तो ये budget में 2-3 साल से पिछली बार IPB का नाम आ रहा है. तो that is the kind of importance that we have. But I think this, the use of this agentic AI and prompting of or working as a sales co-pilot, or nudging the customer to get more and more benefits, etc. That is something which the AI can really do well, and that is what we have actually started. जैसे उसमें आपकी उसमें जर्नी में भी स्टेजेस आया था, तो असिस्टेड डिजिटल असिस्टेड बैंकिंग से हम लोग gradually we are moving into the AI module, and I think the next 3 to 5 years is something which where we are looking at taking more and more benefits to the customers in the rural areas, जिनको कोई लोग पूछता भी नहीं है, और पूछ इसलिए भी नहीं सकता क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं है कोई चाहता नहीं है, बट पूछ इसलिए नहीं सकता क्योंकि वहाँ तक जाना और उनको सर्व करना इज ऑलमोस्ट लाइक इम्पॉसिबल. अगर आप मान लीजिए इम्फाल से किसी गांव के अंदर आप जाना भी चाहते हैं, आपको 6 घंटे जाना लगेगा अंदर फॉरेस्ट में, और 6 घंटे वापस आना लगेगा, और आपको मालूम नहीं है वापस आओगे भी कि नहीं. So how to reach out to those customers, how to benefit those customers is something which, we are doing at scale. We are doing at, digitally, and we are doing at, that digital public infrastructure is also the physical being converted into the digital. And now gradually it will become more and more autonomous. So that is what I foresee as the journey. And I think this is a good step. And the way we are moving forward, and the way we are envisaging, and the way we are envisioning our journey in the future, it's really going to be really wonderful, amazing, and superb. And we'll be setting really a great example for the entire world.
Thank you. I think we have some minutes remaining for audience engagement. Please, the gentleman in the first, and then over there. Mic's on the way for you.
Hello. Hi, my name is Swapnil Dikshit. I am the Chief Product Officer of Avanti Finance. It is a financial inclusion platform co-founded, not just invested by Mr. Tata and Mr. Nilekani.
Can you big
Mr. Tata and Mr. Nilekani. My question is, sir, to you, the gentleman from to the right. Sorry, I'm a bit fuzzy with all the names here. Question is, sir, when the banks are directly reaching out with so much intelligence and technology and everyone having a phone in their pocket directly to the customers, what is the role of the NBFC sector and how is it going to change? One. And second, are the banks actually open to the idea of directly reaching? I mean, I'm a CPO of an NBFC and I sometimes joke that if banks did their jobs, we wouldn't be needed. So what is going on here? I mean, just a subjective overview would be okay.
Very good question. In fact, just to give you my example only, in our bank, you know, as a payment bank, we are not allowed to lend. Okay, we are not allowed to lend. And we have, across the country, we have 26,000 PIN codes, right? 26,000 PIN codes में से banks जो हैं, जो who are willing to lend are, you know, very few. And the kind of customer segment which the banks are willing to lend is, you know, the top end of the customers. They are not going to, yes, exactly. So, हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? Like for example, for the lending, you know, we are working as a referral partner to many of the NBFCs. तो हम लोग के banks भी partner हैं. Banks को के कुछ banks के साथ हमने partnership किया, तो हम लोगों ने उसका relationship terminate कर दिया because we are finding so many restrictions and so many issues dealing with them. So now we are tying up with a lot of NBFCs because NBFCs, they playing a very key role in terms of financial inclusion at the last mile, especially in tier 3, 4. अभी 5 and 6 में नहीं पहुँचे हैं, NBFCs भी नहीं पहुँचे हैं, माइक्रो फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस पहुँचे हैं, बट 3, 4 के अंदर जो है हमारे जो NBFC पार्टनर्स हैं, they are willing to open up, they are willing to do lot of lending based on, जैसे आपने बोला, flow based lending or transactional basis lending. So these NBFCs are where they are serving as the backbone for us in terms of providing those kind of products where banks find it difficult and they don't reach out and they don't want to risk reaching over there. So I think that is one segment where we are doing a good business.
Let me add to what probably you're trying to ask. Look, a traditional bank has a very broad spectrum of play. Both from a risk and a process optimization problem. What NBFCs are very good at is going into that one decisive product and then optimizing risk for that. So which means your arbitration is always better risk. For example, what Sir said that, you know, the traditional bank had so many protocols on how it can be lent and stuff like that. But that's exactly what you arbitrate. You arbitrate risk, right? And NBFCs come in various shape and sizes. So for example, Indian Postal Bank they're trying to kind of be the poster child of trust. You had a Dakia who used to come to your home, we all grew up with those faces, and they are now leveraging that trust with your money and therefore bringing people into not just open bank accounts, but operating bank accounts. And therefore the reach out of government into these direct schemes. But NBFCs professionally are lending organizations against zero collateral, some collateral, unsecuritized collateral, securitized. Actually, we today have Alex. Please, big hand for Alex, Muthoot Finance. They were one of the pioneers of gold lending even before it was official. But look at the amazing scale and how they've done this at par excellence across India, right? So what I'm trying to say is that NBFCs come in various shape and size, but eventually the moat is always going to be your risk segmented for the product of 1 or 2, where you will excel over the banks simply because the spread. Now, can this change over next 5 years? Well, let's just see how well autonomous goes. It's hard to execute some of these strategies, right? The second question, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, myself, Chartered Accountant Gaurav Arora. So my question to...
Can you bring the mic closer to you?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I am Chartered Accountant Gaurav Arora. My question is to Nishant sir, and I wanted him to expound on how the AI adoption is going to change MSME credit, specifically the credit function in the MSME. If you can share some thoughts on it. Thank you.
You know, I think every bank today is chasing MSME credit. if you understand growth, corporate can only arbitrage so much of big projects. So if India has to shine, it is MSME at the core of how they do it. And as we bring more GST, MSME for the first time is far more formalized than it was, let's say, 4 years ago. So today, for example, a GST reference is a basic of an MSME, right? Now you have amazing workflows that arbitrate on Insta loan based on your GST returns and how much can we do. Unfortunately for us, the small enterprises may not still represent its entire business on an MSME portal yet, because they go in for the sector logs or a bunch fees, kind of a provision in the GST. If you ever visit our stall there is a very interesting demo where any of the NBFC people who's carrying a mobile app can simply take a photograph of a shop, and what that'll do is it'll suddenly build up the inventory of that shop from that photograph, okay, and it'll give you an accosted value of the inventory he holds. So suddenly now micro lending on that as a collateral is less risk than you know, just a simple blank entry on the GST. So I think there are many interesting stories around that. We are working with many banks to crack into that. But absolutely, that is one of the biggest problems AI is going to solve for in India. And if we really want a shining India that will grow and will become the number 2 eventually in the world, then MSME is what we have to solve for, and AI is bringing incredible value. Everything from a CPV verification to the actual cross-section of ownership of the shop, to all of that is that brilliant you know, DPI that he was talking about. And the more of these services that they come along, these are not untrustworthy records, they are trustworthy records. Therefore the entire speculation and how you kind of innovate on this.
If I were to simply add to what Nishant mentioned, see what's happening right now, we are moving from a world which was very, I would say, digitized in a very insignificant manner to highly digitized, right? So the number of data points that are available to banks and NBFCs to lend out are increasing. Because I remember about 8 years ago, I met this small NBFC out of Bangalore, and at that time, the alternate data that they were collecting on their own was a big thing. And they were literally, like Nishant mentioned, going out to those small MSMEs, taking pictures, and even small micro sort of enterprises going to their places, figuring out whether they had TV or fridge to kind of get their credit worthiness, etc. But that's moving further. It's getting increasingly automated in terms of data collection. So as we move towards more and more automated data collection, the ability to for the MSMEs to get the credit right at the time when they are like in the process of transacting will significantly increase. But like Nishant mentioned, there will still be some places where the data isn't there or will not come up. Those are the only places with NBFCs and others who are more innovative with these approaches will have to solve for. But we are increasingly moving in that direction. Open is of course one, and even ULI, which is more in that direction. Okay, gentleman over there.
Very good evening to all of the panelists and delegates. So my question is to Gosharan sir. I have seen Postal Bank being built up on the basis of trust since the beginning. So now when artificial intelligence is being brought into picture, how can we shift that trust from humans to autonomous infrastructure, autonomous banking, when we have we don't yet have certifications for AI/ML based applications, and there is no proper benchmarking?
So yes, of course, the trust is there. You know, the trust is there. But yes, as more and more digitization is happening, autonomous processes, etc., are getting developed, and they are going to come into play. But the fact or something behind the mind of the customer is always going to be there, that, you know, in case something happens, or in case I get stuck somewhere, in case my money gets stuck somewhere, my transaction gets stuck somewhere, there is always a Gramin Dak Sevak or a postman behind. I can contact him, because जैसे आप समझ सकते हैं, गांव में अगर उसको मालूम है, उसके पास हर आदमी के पास पोस्टमैन का नंबर जरूर होता है। और कई बार ऐसा होता है, ग्राम प्रधान और ये सब लोग भी कई बार ग्रामीण डाक सेवक होते हैं, और बहुत एक प्रोमिनेंट इन्फ्लुएंसर या प्रोमिनेंट पर्सनालिटी रहता है, तो उसलिए उसके पास एक माइंड में कंफर्ट रहता है कि इवन इफ आई एम डेल्विंग इनटू डिजिटल और आई एम गेटिंग मोर एंड मोर ऑटोनमस इन माय ट्रांजैक्शंस, but in case something goes bad, or in case I get stuck somewhere, the Gramin Dak Sevak is there. And that is one reason why the usage has really accelerated nowadays. You know, people are more and more getting into this. And for example, even अगर एक गांव में एक मर्चेंट हम लोग या तो गूगल पे होता है या फ़ोन पे रहता है, बट हम लोग का एक डाक पे है। सो अगर हम उसको मर्चेंट को बोलते हैं कि आप डाक पे ले लीजिए रादर देन गूगल पे, तो ही इज़ मोर कॉन्फिडेंट अबाउट डाक पे, क्योंकि उसको मालूम है कि अगर कल को कोई ट्रांजेक्शन फंस गई या कहीं दिक्कत आ गई तो पोस्टमैन उसको सुलझा देगा। तो दैट काइंड ऑफ ट्रस्ट फैक्टर ऑलवेज प्लेस।
So, more on safety, the risk resiliency for.
Yeah. Let me add to that. I think your question was, how will AI help in reinforcing trust? Is that your question?
Yes. I mean,
okay.
How the uneducated people be able to trust on the autonomous banking?
Yeah, let me explain that. Look, I think the very basic architecture that you saw, that we either showed you for cognitive and all, has a very strong play on trust. And trust is not built on one layer. It's a multi-layer architecture where you build trust. So everybody understands guardrails, okay? And that's one way to enforce trust. But then you also have agents, which are guardian angels that supervise all of this autonomous story to then kind of really pick up stuff that they feel is deflecting trust, down to the point of your choice of model. So let me make it real for you. So let's take two of the largest LLM provider. You take OpenAI and you look at Claude, okay? Claude in its fabric builds trust and ethics, which means if it gets into a situation that is unknown to it, which you will in autonomous cases, it will use its ethics to engage. Versus OpenAI is more directed in nature, which means if it gets into this ambiguous story, it will do what the supervision model says by default. Okay, so those are the levels of trust. Now, I can go into lots of technicality, but bottom line I'm trying to say is trust is something which is very, very important. Add to trust is being enforced by RBI. Let's take India as an example, which means at some point in time, if today fraud happened, there was an individual being hanged. In the new world, how will you hang an agent? That means agents have to be more auditable and neutral and not biased. For example, when you look at our tech stack, one of the first things we invented 3 years ago was the thought engine. So thought engine is actually a complete journal of how every LLM is taking a decision. So it kind of says, this is the data I got, this is what I think it is, this is what I'm doing, and this is the outcome, right? So literally everything is far more documented in this new world with this thought engine kind of technology that we bring to you than it was in the old world. So again, the layer of trust is multi-zoned, multi-layered, and absolutely, trust becomes the foundation of any stack today, tomorrow, forever, because that's what banks are.
And just to add to, RBI person couldn't be here on this panel today. I think he got sick. But there was another person from RBI speaking in a different panel yesterday, and I was hearing him, and he mentioned very clearly that RBI is going to subject all the agents and all the tech that banks are building to the same level of scrutiny and test as they are doing with the human, right? So there's no way you can simply get away by saying that, hey, AI did it, and we don't know how AI does it. So that's the level of testing and qualification and certification and regulation that RBI is going to put.
And in fact, just to build on that point, 6 months ago, we did a roundtable in GFF on autonomous banking, which was a representation of standards for autonomous to RBI. So if you ever want to have a paper of how banks are thinking about trust today, you can actually go to our site or go to our stall and pick up that autonomous banking representation that we're doing to RBI. So again, it's a typical regulated problem. Can you regulate something that does not exist? You can only participate in a standard setting and then kind of, come back with regulation really faster. And good ways and bad ways, both ways. And RBI is an immense learning. I mean, I can just give example of Indian Postal Bank. We were having a discussion. They were the first ones to really come up with a cyber insurance with every account they were publishing because their people were so vulnerable. And when RBI audited and saw this great thing they had done, they went and made it a default, right? So again, so it's not like RBI can dream of better standards. I think it's a industry collective where we kind of create guidance paper, we kind of try to solve for it, take RBI's view, and then we kind of, it's a circle that'll keep on. Sometimes the industry will be ahead, sometimes the regulator will be ahead. So I think that'll happen. But trust is...
I think AI will also have to be trained, especially in the banking segment, to have its limits defined, where the buck stops. Ultimately, where he feels or AI feels or AI engine or agent feels that he cannot further answer any further questions, he has to just refer it to a call center or somebody or a human. So, I mean, ultimately, there are only certain roles and rules which will be defined for the AI as well. And that is what I think the banking sector especially has to work on. Because we cannot unlimitedly, keep on engaging into something which we cannot protect.
So with that confidence in place that even though AI and autonomous is changing the way we are going to be doing banking and finance, I think we can leave this room assured that we are not going to be completely taken for granted by AI or not taken on a wild ride. I would like to thank all of you for being here and thank my fellow panel members. So thank you so much. I think this is the close of the session. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Rajvi, and I'm just here to quickly introduce our panel for the evening. I just start by making a small joke so that I don't feel awkward for not using the podium, because podiums are not very friendly for short people. Yes, so I would love to invite Shri Nagarajan ji IAS, who is the current Municipal Commissioner of Surat, and he is also the ex-director of technical education in Gujarat. We also have Suket Amin, the founder of Sunboard Innovations. We also have Padmashri ma'am, who is the Executive Vice President and MD at Capgemini. We also have Sarika ma'am here, who is the Group's Chief Corporate Responsibility Officer and member of the Group Executive Committee, Capgemini Group. Along with that, we will also shortly be joined by Sir Mahip sir, and we will also have a quick introduction of him. So over to you, Padmashri ma'am.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be sitting in front of all of you. Am I audible? Yeah? Not at all? Okay, somewhat? Okay, I think that is the acoustics here. So we currently have a startup founder here, social startup founder. We have a government IAS officer right sitting here, and then a CSR head for a large organization sitting right here, as you all can see. So there's a lot that is happening here, and I think together they can create wonders out of the whole thing. So, but before starting all these things, I just wanted to set the context for this, right? AI is where we are all sitting in here. The capabilities, AI capabilities have skyrocketed. All of you would have seen what the latest version of Opus is doing or everything, and might have also gone into a little bit of a depression, I'm sure, like how I did a little while back last couple of weeks. But having said that, AI can create humongous impact across every sector that we can think about, and especially in the social sector. So what we'll be trying to do today is to capture, there you go, the fourth person has come, who is also from the government, from the UP government, and he's a very powerful Innovation Hub CEO for the UP government. Welcome on board. Yeah. So you really have the power here, right? So we are going to try and ask questions which can help bring a lot of insights from all of them. But just as I said, I was talking about the foundational things. AI is there, but there's a lot of data that systematically the government of India has tried to create as well. You all, I don't need to repeat everything, but even today when you're walking in I didn't even think that Digi Yatra can be worked to be able to do a facial recognition to walk in. So the kind of data that our government has created to enable each of the population scale implementation is not funny. Be it UPI, UP, this thing. The government has also gone into the investment side of the game. So the AI Innovation Hub and etc. Government has set aside 11 crore. I wish it is more as well, but we'll talk about it. But then 11,000 crore is not a small sum to be talking about. So everything is going well. What more can we do to impact the social sector through AI? And we'll get some of the answers, and many of you, I'm assuming, will be founders, startup owners here, and let's get all the answers from here. Yeah? Is that fine? Should we start? So let's go. The first thing is I really wanted to get the flavor from each one of you on what is that one thing that you all think can have biggest impact in the social sector as AI, right? The biggest impact that AI can do to the social sector, and build it on that, on top of it, and then we can pick it up and talk about how can each one of them carry something back, right? And how can they go back and implement it as well. So biggest impact on social sector. Any one of you can pick it up, and then we'll move from there.
So this is a very interesting session here. And before I start, I just want to have a raise of hands. How many of you are startup founders now are going to do your startups? So I think majority are startups, and I think it's a great thing to have, because normally startup and impact don't go in the same sentence. But it is on us, we all people, to change the narrative. and we are going to do it using technology, and none other than AI is going to support us in this journey. I believe that all technology is meant for the people. Okay, so if you are building something and if it is not meant for people, there is no use of building it. Technology doesn't have any value unless it makes a difference. I am very much clear on that. So I congratulate each and every one of you who have taken up time to come here and think about how do I use technology to achieve my mission and goal. And whether you are from government, whether you are from NGO sector, whether you are a startup founder, if you have the ultimate thing in mind, you are doing the best job. You know, Gandhiji said that whenever you are in doubt, you recall the common man, the most poorest man that you would have seen, and think about it. Whatever action you are going to take, will it make any small positive difference in his life? Then your action is right. So that is a test of the impact. When it comes to what is a problem that is worth solving, is the biggest challenge that we face in every social activity, whether it is from the government or from the civil society, is changing mental models and behaviors of the people. How do we do it? And technology can help us. Changing mental models in nutrition, changing mental models in education, changing mental models in cleanliness, changing mental models in civic sense. All this is going to be very challenging. We all know that changing someone's point of view is the most challenging task in this world. Everything else is very easy because we are working with the people. And how do we use AI to impact for that? And some of the most impactful areas from my experience which I have seen is now we are getting highly urbanized country. More than 50% of our population is going to urban areas. So urban governance is a very important challenge that is it needs to be solved at the earliest. By urban, I don't mean New Delhi Municipal Corporation. I am coming from Surat. Somewhat Surat can also be counted, but there are 157 Nagar Palikas, municipal Nagar Palikas in Gujarat itself. So there will be thousands of Nagar Palikas. They are all having challenges in funds, manpower, and all that. So how do we support them? Second is foundational literacy. K-12. What is that inbuilt advantage that we can give to our kids in school so that they can face the future? We are all the transition generation. Somehow we are doing certification course and this and that. To manage this entire transition, we have a different challenge. But the natives, there was digital natives, now AI native education also needs to be done. So this is a very important. Third is nutrition for women. How do we do something, use AI to challenge? So from my perspective, these three are highly big scale, population scale problems that are worth solving, and it is not any one person's thing. And when we talk about startup, we talk about unicorn.
Yes.
I wish that you all build impact unicorn, which will make a difference in the life of 1 billion people, not $1 billion valuation.
Absolutely. That is the social thing, right? So all of education, nutrition, the third one, what did you say, sir? Education, urban governance, right? These are really hot things right now, and the Indian government is going ahead and investing quite a bit on that. So we'll learn more. Over to you, Sarika.
So +1 to all that you said. But from where I see, if I have to look at it from a corporate standpoint, I would say access at scale is the one thing, since you asked for one thing, Padma. Yes. Of course, all the ones that you said need that support as well. The reason I say access at scale is because we are a country, we know we are large, we are diverse, we speak multiple languages, the digital fluency of people is different, the gadgets we use are different. So really when we have to look at AI, it should be something that helps bridge those access problems. Today, we have a lot of people who are skilled. Most corporates do skilling training programs, right? But there is still a gap between what they're skilled and how the employment is generated. We have people who are eligible for lots of government programs, but they are not reached. We have people who, are informed, so they understand some of the policies that they can use, but they don't know how to use them. So really, how do we create an ecosystem through AI, where AI is that bridge layer, between opportunities, between supply-demand gap, and between, bridging that gap between the haves and the have-nots. So, I was at another session just now, and there was this person who asked us to imagine. They said, just imagine if you could, one of the farmers could just point to the crop and know when exactly it is right time to harvest it, which is the nearest place that they can sell it, That's what AI can do for you. What if there was a student who could just learn in their native language? Why do we have to always learn in English, right? And just imagine if, we have so many large, events and programs where we, have food. Food wastage is one of the biggest challenges for India. It's not that we don't produce enough. It's just that we don't know how to preserve that. And you know this, that only 30% of the food reaches the plate, actually. The rest is all wastage. So how do you make sure that that reaches the right people in the most appropriate form? So access at scale, in my view, is something which is very relevant for India.
Fantastic. Just to summarize so far, right? So he talked about the sectors, which is education, health, and urban governance. And how do you get access to the people at large? That's a problem. It is yet to be solved at a population scale yet, I think. Agriculture, I know quite a bit, but there are other sectors also where we could. Education also a lot happening, but we'll ask more questions there. Yeah, over to you.
Okay. So my background is we are working for blind and visually impaired. So disability sector is the key area that we are focusing. And what we've seen that after AI that has come in, I'm talking from 2022, the entire situation has changed for people with disabilities. So AI has created a level playing field for people with disabilities, not just for blindness, even if you are hearing impaired or dyslexic, every single space, AI has come in to help you in education, independent living. So that is a very big change that has come, where people are more confident in doing things, and that has reduced their dependency on others. So that's where in future that will enable people to have as normal life as possible that we can have. So that is where the AI will take them.
That is beautifully said. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mahit.
Padma,
Yeah,
if
go
I
ahead.
can build on what he said, we were just reading a report yesterday, actually, and it said that the adoption of AI by people who are neurodiverse or who are, have some kind of a, their adoption is 55%, whereas the average for all of us is about 39%. And these are numbers that clearly show how that gap can be bridged.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right.
Mahit, over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Padma. And first of all, congratulations to entire CSR box for this nice initiative. So since I come from the innovation background, and I come from the innovation hub itself, and which works on a hub and spoke model. So we have around 80 incubation centers across the UP with 2,700 startups. And innovation hub is established at Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, which is one of the largest affiliating university of India. So from my point of view, the AI amalgamation into the education, as sir said, that's the most important thing, and which is going to be most impactful also, because we have initiated few things. I'm not going to say that what should be done, but what the good practices we are opting over there using AI is we are checking the copies using AI. Although we are not fully dependent on that, but yes, for the support of evaluators, we are using AI. Means, few cases are there in the university. What happens that evaluation is not that much proper. The deserving candidate doesn't get the right marks, right? So we are using AI to assist the evaluator that whatever the marks has been given is right or wrong, that will assist. Although there is a bypass option also. That is the first thing which we are doing, and we are also making AI university, means each and every course would be having the AI integration into that. So we are working hub and spoke model for that also. That is second thing. Third thing, what I think, since UP is being represented with 1 lakh of villages, and there are a lot of farmers. So AI in the area of agriculture, that plays a very important role, because we have a lot of startups here also. We are representing in hall number 6 with 6.3 and 6.4 stall number.
and with 44 startups. A couple of startups are there in the area of AI. What exactly they are doing? They are predicting that in this particular season, which crop would be feasible for the farmers, right? So I believe these areas are most important area where AI can play a very important role. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mahip. Now let's start diving deeper, right? So you got a generic answer from all of them as to sector and where you have to focus on. Maybe this time I'll start with you, Nagraj. Yeah. So many of you are sitting here are from, founders of startup, etc., and maybe looking to partner with the government in a big way. What are the ways, partnerships that can be established with the government? Is there a jugaad, sir, to be able to do this? We discussed this right a little away from, just a little while back. But how do they get to partner with the government, or government, how do you select? Can you just throw some light on that for all of them, please?
Yeah. So today we are talking about, impact-driven startups. So government is the best partner because government has scale. In fact, I always used to say I've been working with the startup ecosystem for more than a decade now. People always say, okay, I don't know, I want to do a startup, I don't know what to do. I said, just look at government. We are the biggest problem statement holder in the country. Duniya bhar ki problems hai hamare paas. So you can bring all your solutions because whatever we do, there are 100 problems that are still unsolved. So we should start with a problem that is, which is very, very imminent. And here I would like to give one tips is that the value of innovation lies in its context. Whatever you do, whatever technology you may have, unless it is applied to a context or a situation, it doesn't have any value or it has an alternative value. I'll tell you one example, like say titanium. Titanium was, stronger than steel, lighter than aluminum, very much suitable for aviation, and this for last 50, 60 years, entire aviation industry, billions of dollars of value creation done. Somebody thought that I could use this material to make a Blade Runner's, foot. So it is a very cross application. Velcro was designed for one purpose and now everyone is using Velcros. Internet is a big example. It started as a defense project. Now it is changing the world and AI is again, riding on the wave of what internet could do. So whenever you are talking about technology, it is not about the advanced technology but real technology. So if you want to get any government work or order or whatever, first is that your solution should be fit to the problem. So and the technology should be appropriate to the location. Most of the time we all will work in places which are like having access divide, as she has mentioned, or knowledge divide, or even resource divide, rural urban divide. There are so many divides. So how do we cross that? So using the right technology for the situation is the first thing. So having a fit solution is the first requirement. Second is establishing your credibility. You always need an inside champion in the government who is also a believer in your idea.
Yeah.
So first is that you should find the believer who already thinks that this is a problem worth solving and I need someone who can, jump the hoops for this problem, who can do the running on in that. So you find that kind of a person, because most of the time startups work in a spaces which are problem unaddressed so far. So you are in a clean slate situation, so you can co-build that solution with the whatever government or agency or partner. Suppose you have a product which is already mature and it is doing well in the market. So now then you have to go according to the purchase policies. So you have to study those policies, and most of the governments are now giving for the first few orders, at least first few lakhs, it is easier to get first order. And GEM portal is a very important thing. Most of the time if you ask, submit a project, they'll say, are you on GEM portal? So if GEM portal is government e-procurement marketplace, so it is very easy, you can just sign up. It is just like Shopify. It is a government Shopify, you can say. So you can just sign up there, and there are a lot of GEM consultants who help, but it's not required. And then your product, most of the time it will be an innovative product or different product. There will be no equivalence. So you have to apply to get product category creation. So if you are a category creator, you need not be Steve Jobs to be a category creator. You know, at least you can do a gem category creation with your product, because you are solved a problem that is, you know, unaddressed so far. Third is that everything in social sector, impact sector works on relationships. The more you go and talk to people, your passion shows, you generate a set of believers who believe in your idea. They will bet not on your project, not on your solution, but on your character and your, you know, personality that you have projected, the assurance, the trust you have built. That is what will break the ice. And मैं कई बार बोलता हूँ कि अगर आपको गवर्नमेंट में काम करना है तो बहुत चाय पीने की आदत बनाइए. And have a lot of patience. But if you have patience, the day you crack, then there is no stopping. जहाँ पे entry barrier ज़्यादा है, वहाँ पे sustainability भी ज़्यादा है. जहाँ entry easy है, वहाँ sustainability भी कम है. So you need to play the long game, and relationship-based, you know, approach always works, because people first trust you, then they trust your project. So I think these are good enough practical solutions.
Very valid ones, right, Nagaraj. Gem portal, and then contextual real problems that you're trying to solve. But once that is there, I'm going to go to Mahip now. I'll tell you the order. Once that is there, so all these ideas are great, you know, contextual, etc., Mahip, but you are running the innovation hub. Explain, help the team, all of us understand, how do you scale really from there? How do you not get stuck at that ideation and in the lab? How do you move from the lab to the reality? Is there a framework or anything for that people can have in mind?
So starting a startup is not a rocket science. It's very simple. Before starting your startup, this journey, identify that the problem you are going to solve should be the real problem. That's the basic thing. अगर हम वहाँ पे सही प्रॉब्लम आइडेंटिफाई नहीं करेंगे तो हमें पूरी जर्नी में कहीं कहीं हिंड्रेंस मिलेगा. So if real, and we are privileged that we are in India, because it's developing country, and every moment, on every step there is a problem, and I mean based on every problem there is a potential solution also. तो startup की जो आंखें होनी चाहिए, you should have that side to see actual problem and actual solution. So what happens, since we are the member of the evaluation committee, so in some of the cases we get the startups coming to solve without any problem statement. कुछ भी solve कर रहे हैं, करना है इसलिए कर रहे हैं, right? So identification of a right problem is the initiation of anything. You can scale up only if you are working with the right problem. Then मैं थोड़ा सा पिछले वाले पे आता हूँ, your question. Government partner, then government become automatically your partner. So most of you are the startups sitting here, and I believe that you must have got the grant either from the Department of Science and Technology or from the MSME, DBT, UP. So government is by default partner of the startup. वो चाहे जेम पे हो, चाहे वो ग्रांट देने की बारी आए तब हो. So everywhere, and what we are doing, we are at every week we are organizing a meeting with our startup, with the government officers. जैसा आपने बोला कि चाय पीने की आदत होनी चाहिए, तो हम चाय पे बुलाते हैं लोगों को, बिठाते हैं, और चाय पे ही कुछ न कुछ ऐसा उनका प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट, हमारे स्टार्टअप का सलूशन निकल के आता है. और लगभग हमने 25 स्टार्टअप्स को अभी तक B2G दिलवाया बिजनेस. So that's a way we are doing, right?
Thank you. That is good. From an engineering perspective, you are running it, right? Okay. If you can help understand how do people scale, right? So you have identified the well-defined problem statement, physically handicapped, how could you help them in this? How do you go about and scale? From an engineering perspective, from every other angle, if you can throw some light, it will be great.
So the sector that we deal, they're not so much on social media. So what we work is, first of all, what we did is we created a detailed business plan. So business plan does contain what's our set problem, solution, how we are going to market, who we will be talking to, what will be your strategy, what will be your price. Everything needs to be very much clear before even you actually build the product. Because once you build the product, then it's very difficult to go back and refine the product on a continuous cycle. So what approach we do is always we identify what the customer is. We do a customer profiling, and then we target that, and we see where all that person goes. So for us, it was pretty much easier because a lot of people whom we target are youth who are age of 18 to 35, who are preparing for competitive exams, who are part of an NGO or in college or school. So we know where all to go and where all we need to spread awareness about our product, provide demonstration, work with the community, and identify people who are influencing that community, who can talk about your product, who can provide demonstration, provide reviews to the groups that they are in, and that's how reference would work. But every industry is different, so every industry needs a very specific approach that you take, and that comes with trial, test, fail, and then you have to stand up again with a new process. So it's all about process. There is no straightforward answer that anybody can give. Once you start working, you start getting results, and you start molding your approach.
Yeah, thank you, Suket. Now I'll move to Sarika. AI is very, what do I say? It can be used for any purpose, right? So legal purposes as well, if I could take it in that direction. And all of the social sector is working in many of the things in the vulnerable communities, etc., right? How do you ensure that the bias is taken care, that you do not harm in the process of use of AI? You kind of safeguard the vulnerable communities within, Sarika, from a large organization that you are coming in, we are coming in from. So help us understand, how do you take care of all these things?
So I think the first thing we should accept is that AI is not neutral. So, like your previous technological revolutions, let's say mobility, cloud, or automation, which were in a sense neutral from a technology standpoint, AI is not neutral. It is really reflecting, it's like a child, what you teach a child, and most of us have kids, at least I do, and it's when you teach the child repeatedly reinforcing things, that's what it learns. And AI is just like that. So it really depends on what it is taught, what are the data sets it's fed, what are the assumptions that their makers are making, like who their designers are making. And hence, when people say that, the AI is not good for the vulnerable communities, actually it is not AI that is not good for the vulnerable communities. It's because these vulnerable communities have always been away from access, they have been underrepresented, they have not been included, they are far away from design, which is why when AI reflects what it sees in the society, then it amplifies that gap. So, the chances of it really widening the gap instead of bridging it can be quite stark. I think there are a couple of ways in which you could make sure that by, this kind of gap is not widened, and we use AI to bridge, the technological and the digital divide. First, of course, which all of us know, is make sure that there is inclusion by design. And what do we mean by inclusion by design? You were talking about how you run the processes. So if the whole program is designed for people with very high English fluency, or let's say for very high digital literacy, so knowing how to use digital products, or then with a very high let's say bandwidth requirements, then by design you are excluding those set of people who should be included actually. So when your design itself, you need to make sure that you're taking care of all the various type of users that exist. The second, of course, is higher transparency. And here, when we say transparency, we should let people know that there is AI in the loop. There is AI which is influencing decision. Like, I know there are lots of nowadays level 1 interviews where it's actually an AI that is evaluating the responses, but the interviewee is not aware. And obviously, that agent that is doing the interview is biased because of the way the data sets have been fit. So making sure that there is transparency in when there is AI in the loop has to be called out. And I strongly believe that, you should be able to challenge that as well, challenge those processes. The processes you can't challenge are not trustable. And the last thing I would say is that, governance is an ongoing thing. It's not, like you again said, it's not something you create one day and you forget about it. You don't tell your child one day that, oh, you need to, make sure that you stay clean. You reinforce it every single time. So same way, we need to make sure that we are putting these checks and balances, the governances, every single time, because biases can creep in, data changes, context changes. So making sure that, you're constantly watching these and navigating to make sure that the least represented are the first ones and not an afterthought in the design.
Very well said, very well said. So inclusive AI it is, right? So in fact, if you look at the global picture, India is the one which has actually walked the path sincerely in the path of inclusive AI. What do I mean by inclusive AI? We are making AI available through Bhashini to everybody, to the last mile of an agriculturist, to the person in the school, in a government school. That is inclusive AI. If this is inclusive AI, back to you all. Now, this is the last round. I'll ask questions to all of you. And if India should be the leader in being the inclusive, global leader in inclusive AI, what are the top 3 non-negotiables, if you will, right? Maybe I can start from you, Maheep, and then come this way, if that's fine with you.
So is it compulsory to tell about the 3 things?
Anything.
All right.
You can say 1, 2, 3.
All right. I think 1 or 2 would be sufficient.
Yes, yes, of course.
In that case. So AI inclusion in every part of our life is going to happen very soon. So एक छोटा सा example आपको बताता हूँ. One of our startup is using AI in the urinal. What they are doing, they are deploying a small sensor in the urinal, and based on that sensor, a small screen is there in front, and while in the process of urinal, it is about to tell how many, 6 different parameters that what disease are inside your body. So based on these things, he is doing a couple of things. One thing, he is telling the data of that particular area, that kaun si bimari is area mein chal rahi, that is number 1. Number 2, he is suggesting the doctor also. So, what I want to say is, if AI has entered in your urinal also, then of course it is going to be the integral part of your entire life very soon. Now, the biggest challenge while making it the integral part of your life is the infrastructure of AI, जिससे हम सब अभी जूझ रहे हैं. Government of UP खास तौर पे, because I am representing, we are confined to the UP itself, so we know the fact. AI infrastructure is very costly affair. Hiring the server or making our own server is actually tough. So AI infrastructure, one thing, then server cost is second thing. Although now there are few companies which has made a good competition between all the, among all the service providers of the AI server. But since we have a 14 petaflop server, so we know the cost of infrastructure. And out of more than 770 institutions which we have, surprisingly, we have just 6 institutions are there who are having the AI server. तो अब आप suppose, अब आप imagine कर सकते हैं कि कितना tough है ये institutions के लिए afford कर पाना. So I believe these 2 things are important and non-negotiable.
Thank you, thank you. Over to you, Suket.
According to me, I think first of all we should consider AI as a friend and not a threat.
Very nice.
Because not today we may not be using extensively within our organizations, especially MSMEs. But startups or MSMEs will have to adopt if they have to grow and they have to be sustainable. And like Sir said, yes, the infrastructure cost can be high. AI services can be expensive at times. But if you look at it in the bigger picture, your mental peace, your wellness that everybody talks about, and if you just leave it to a system to do that for you, your mental wellness, your free time, and which you can use it for more productive things. So I think you should embrace AI and accept how it comes and evolve with AI rather than be stagnant with your old systems and processes.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Nagraj.
Yeah.
Non-negotiables.
Yeah. Non-negotiables is that we should keep one thing in mind is that AU is like Kaju Kishmis, it is not the kheer. So don't mistake Kaju Kishmis for the kheer. First build the kheer. And second is consent. Whenever we are using any data, the consent should be there, so the user should be informed. So if there is, you feel any fundamental or human right will be slightly even touched, better you think twice on it. And third is AI is enabler, not a replacement. And if you can't avoid AI, if you can avoid AI, please avoid it. Because right fit to the solution is more important than AI.
Very well said.
So it's not like, not against AI, it's whether it is fitting to your situation, your requirement. If the functionality fit is there, we should of course do it. But otherwise, we should avoid it.
Very well said. The Kaju Kishmis, huh? Use it only where it is needed and when it is needed. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sarika.
So, when you said 3, I thought of 3, but some of them were not the ones that they had said, and now I want to add those as well, So mine will be a little more than 3, but in summary, I think one, of course, access, because in my mind, India is not represented here. This is not all of India. We are not, the people sitting here are not the right representatives. So there is a lot more diversity. There are a lot more people who need the access through AI and as the bridge layer. So for me, access will remain number 1 for a country like India. Second would be, of course, trust, and you alluded to that, if you're using anything which is not, is a violation, which goes against what is the right thing to do, it's a no-no. And third in my mind is also the fact that not all of us need to suddenly become AI engineers. All of us don't need to start coding and have a FOMO that, hey, I don't understand how those LLMs work. I think we need to train. India needs to scale and train the people who will be using it. The frontline workers who will use AI for triangulating data. The kirana stores, the farmers, how will they use it? How the students would use it? So we'll need to train them to be able to use AI as much as, we spend thought on how to create one.
Very well said, right? So first of all, inclusive AI is what we need to walk the path with. Ensure that we are doing only the things where it is needed. Don't put AI just because you have a hammer, don't go and hammer everything else under the sun, right? So keep it to what it is required to be doing, and remember that it is a fantastic fantastic tool, and leverage it where it is needed, right? So thank you so much. I think we are on top of the hour right now, and it was a pleasure talking to each one of you here. And thanks for the lovely audience. If you have any questions, you could always come and speak to us outside. And thanks to the CSR box, which partnered with us to be making this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck to all in your ventures.
So we can take few questions if you have.
We have time. Sorry. Let's.
So my question is, when we started the conversation, you said impact and startups don't come together, but it's very good that they are coming together. My question is, so why do impact and startups, why do they really need to come together? And why not non-profits and impact? And why does the government support the non-profits more than the startups that it is doing right now? Because if you talk about social impact, the heart of the non-profits is far more, in the impact space. So why does it always have to be driven by sustainable finance, and why can't it be just impact?
See, these are various definitions that we, define to run the systems. But fundamentally, whatever your name is, whether you are an NGO, whether you are a startup, whether you don't have a startup, first is entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship means trying to solve a problem. And if you solve a problem that is marketable, then it becomes a product and it goes to the market. And if that market is highly scalable, then it becomes a startup. So the core is solving a problem with an entrepreneurial mindset. If you are ready to solve a problem with an entrepreneurial mindset, whether you put a foundation, whether you put a trust, whether you put a DPIT recognized startup, it doesn't matter. It is only the type of balance sheet that you want to keep. Ultimately, the thing is, what is the problem that you want to solve? If you have that solving mindset, problem solving mindset, and you want to take up something which generally other people are not doing, then you are an entrepreneur. So impact means solving a problem, and what framework you want to do, then that market and sustainability should be there. I think someone in the back, someone was here.
Sir, it was a nice talk. Sir, the problem I want to bring out is anyone can answer, sir. So the problem is most of the founders or the people like us don't even know the problem that we are going to solve doesn't require 100 billion parameter LLM to solve it. Every day a new model is launched and we get confused that this one is better than that. So I believe the next era will not be of LLM, it will be ruled by SLMs. So we need to think that whatever problem we are solving is a very little problem which doesn't require such a high compute power or a high parameter model. So accordingly, we need to develop an ecosystem which helps us to build our, presently that ecosystem is missing. If I want to build up a small problem solving app, for example, so I will suddenly jump to OpenAI or some highest parameter model and solve a small problem. While what I require is a small model specifically built, or what should I call it, a application specific intelligent agent. That is what we need. So that ecosystem we need to build around and provide it to the founders, future founders, I believe.
So you are saying that that ecosystem is needed?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you want to answer?
I just want to say, as a founder, right, as a tech founder, we use a lot of platforms for coding, and every platform has their own uniqueness, and every tech person who is using the platform has different style of engaging. So it varies from person to person on how they are interacting with the platform. That is one thing I would say. And every day, like you said, there are so many platforms that they are coming in. Now it's a personal thing that has to go is research. And you have to keep yourself updated on what is the differentiator between each platform, because every model gives you a detailed description of what improvements or enhancement has come. So that analysis should happen. And as my CTO, every day he spends 2 hours just analyzing what are the new things that have come up in an AI space. Whether it's a platform, it's a product, or any other thing that's directly, indirectly related to our business. So that time you need to spend on research rather than doing coding. So that has to be from the founder's side.
A very important question for the CSR side. Right. I'm Sarthak, I'm the director of Know Your Careers. Right. And we are working for the innovation in schools and with the help of AI and innovation infrastructure. So like what CSR is planning to build in the schools and to deploy something for the school students, especially for the class 8 to 12 students who are seeking some guidance and fund supports also from the government and the other bodies also to build their own startup or innovation ideas for the CSRs. For ma'am, especially for you. Innovation in schools.
Innovation in schools. So, a couple of things. So, first and foremost, government is doing a lot of work in making sure that the skills of the future and the programs of skills of the future. The mic also gave way. So, are kind of a guiding, like a lighthouse about what skills will be required for tomorrow, because there's no point in skilling students in areas which will be redundant tomorrow, right? So, one is the government is running a lot of programs. Corporates, on the other hand, are also, and I can speak for corporates, large corporates, what we do is we assess the needs that we are seeing, our own hiring needs. What are the kind of skills that we are looking, to hire? And those are the ones that we dovetail back into the programs. Of course, at the school level, it's not, Java coding and all, but it is, of course, it finds its way through, the programs into the school programs also. So lots of innovation required at school. One of the things I would, however, call out is that a lot of and things are changing in India, there's a lot of teaching by rote or, but things like AI and all need to be learned by experiencing, by touching, feeling. And I know there are lots of organizations, including the government, that supports things like tinkering labs, robotic labs. And I know for sure Anurag is here. He's our India head for Capgemini. One of the proudest moments we've had is one of the schools which we support. They actually contested in an open robotics competition where children of all schools participate, and they came third on merit. So for us, that's the kind of pride. So I think it's a combination of what skills, how do we equip them through, programs, training, and also tie it with employability, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be skilled without employment.
Thanks a lot.
I just wanted to add one point to what you said. If you are a founder with for profit, and if you're looking for CSR, then that doesn't happen. You have to ask school to reach out to the CSR. So that's the approach. Secondly, if you're a founder seeking CSR for product development, then it's a different approach that incubators, they can provide. And I've been one of the beneficiaries through the Capgemini grant for product development. So incubators are one of the organizations that can help you connect with the corporates who have grants for product development.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think I'll request everyone to be here, even the panel to be here. I would like to have Anurag sir to felicitate the panel members here. Can we have a huge round of applause for the panel that we had here? Thank you so much, Anurag sir, and thank you so much for the panel. We'll have a group photo. For the audience, we are not yet done. We are going to continue for next half an hour. We have something very interesting coming up with Lego. So hoping to have you here. Hi.
Hi all, good evening. We will be having Lego Education product demo launch for the computer science and AI literacy. So please be seated because this is going to be a very interactive session by Mr. Atish Gonsalves, who heads the Lego Education. Thank you.
can we turn? I've turned on this thing. The audio is through HDMI or through the. Where's the audio coming from? The HDMI or a separate cable?
Audio separate. HDMI
separate. Huh? Yep. Okay. That comes here. Okay. Now let's do a test. Can we do a quick test here? It's okay. Before the people are here, but I would like to do a quick. Okay, cool. We don't want that. They're not showing. Tell them to not have that. That's the. Show me that. Audio.
Our brains don't turn into mush because of it. Write that down. It's really important to use AI responsibly. Not everybody has.
Can we not show the screen there?
Yeah. Actually, it's because of your laptop only.
Is there a setting?
Yeah, you have to close this actually.
No, okay. No, 1 second. I think it's in the show during the presenter view. I don't want to show the settings. No, it's not that. I think he has to turn off on the screen. Custom show.
You have to do it from here only actually.
Slideshow.
Maybe just do F5 here.
No, wait, this is a Mac. No, it's a Mac. It's different. I think we need to. It's still showing the.
Just let it be, I would say.
No, I don't want it to show. Okay. Use presenter view.
Maybe click on it.
Swap displays. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it works.
The screen, and then yeah, this is okay. It's okay now. No, it's a bit widescreen, but I think it's okay. Do we have a clicker?
We don't have clicker.
Okay, then I have to stand here. And okay, this is working. Okay, this is good actually. I can see my notes as well.
Yep.
And then I want the audio is working, and then so what I will do is I will do a test. What time do you want me to start?
You can just do. We'll start by 4:30. You can just do the demo.
Yeah, so this is where, let's see, we can either do this or I can try, let's see, this is where if I go back, does it go okay? Yeah, it's okay, fine.
Yeah,
so then I can go from here.
When you will be connecting the toy?
I think I should try to connect it. Otherwise, I think we're set up. Otherwise, okay. Okay, this is not. Actually, maybe there's an option in my settings. I know what I should have done. Actually,
Where's the arrow actually? I can't see your arrow.
No, actually, what I want to do was. Yeah.
I can't see the cursor actually.
Me neither. Where is the arrow? Oh, okay, it's coming. It's coming. Yeah. Okay. So here, what we can do is we can change the displays actually to do mirror. I think then this
Mirror for HDMI.
mirror is better.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's better. You think that's better or just better like previously? Actually, no. Let's do stop mirroring.
Stop mirroring. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to try it?
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll do the extended. This is so this one I'll do as the extended display. Okay, so
One.
yeah.
Yes.
No, it comes.
Okay, so I'll have to then. The problem is okay. problem. It's okay. I'll connect it now. Let me just connect it now already. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. I'll manage. Okay. This is also ready. I think. So it just means that I can, let's see with the camera if it's working or not. Let me see. Is it working?
That's working.
Oh no, I've not hit play.
Yeah, that is working.
It's working now?
Yeah. It can track you, right? Yeah, it's working.
The problem is it would be nice if I could see it on the screen, but it's okay. Let me just open the project file again. When do you want me to start? Now or?
You can start.
You can.
anytime.
Okay.
Just
Cool.
figure your mic. Yeah, the mic's working.
Okay.
You can just start with the session. Maybe you can start with the brief. That this will be an interactive session and everything.
Yeah.
Then you can start with the session.
Okay. Do I need this mic or these work?
You can use this mic.
Both of us? Okay. Amazing. Okay, how is everyone doing? You still have the energy at the end of the day? Sorry, we were having some technical issues setting up. You can also come forward if you want because we have a model here, so you'll see it better if you're closer to the stage. But my name is Atish Gonzalez. I am the head of product for computer science and AI with LEGO Education. I'm based in Denmark where LEGO is headquartered. And I'm very excited to share a bit more about our approach to AI, as well as I'll do a live demo as well of our new computer science and AI product. So let's make this as interactive as possible. I'll try to go through the slides, give you a bit of a live demo, but maybe we have time for questions as well. So I'll just start with the world is really currently obsessed with what computers are capable of. We are like talking about all the latest and greatest large language models and all the greatest technology, but I would argue that we've forgotten what kids are capable of. I think we've got so caught up in this technology deluge that we've forgotten what are the kids really capable of doing. So we did this really interesting experiment where we asked 16 kids from various schools to come together and define their own AI policy. This was done in the US, but you can imagine this can be extrapolated to other places as well. So I'm going to share the video here. There's no audio. It was working earlier.
It's working.
Yeah, they just need to turn up the audio.
It's on.
It was working earlier.
Turn into mush because of it. I feel like we just need a class that will teach us how to navigate AI and make sure that our brains don't turn into mush because of it. Write that down. It's really important to use AI responsibly.
Not everybody has access to AI, so only use AI if everyone can use AI.
That's a good idea.
AI is really empowering if you have some guidelines around it.
AI literacy is really important.
I'm very sorry, I'm going to play this again because I think we completely missed the beginning of it. I'm super sorry.
I feel like we just need a class that will teach us how to navigate AI and make sure that our brains don't turn into mush because of it.
Write that down.
It's really important to use AI responsibly.
Not everybody has access to AI, so only use AI if everyone can use AI.
That's a good idea.
AI is really empowering if you have some guidelines around it.
AI literacy is really important.
Okay, there's a longer video as well. I realize it's a shorter one. Please go to legoeducation.com/AI, and we have like this policy that the kids came up by themselves. So AI literacy isn't about teaching children just how to use a magic box safely. It's about giving them a screwdriver and really opening up that black box, taking it apart and building it from scratch. So that is really what it is about for us. So, and I would argue that even the definition that we talk about AI literacy today is not just the literacy to how to use the tools. So we talk about how kids can understand large language models, how to enter prompts, but to actually understand the fundamental concepts that underlie AI at itself. And what are these fundamental principles? How do machines understand the world? How do they perceive the world from the camera, from data, etc.? How do they use that for representation and reasoning? How do machines learn? And I think when I say learning, I mean how do they look at the probabilistic markers? How do they see patterns in the data and make guesses based on that? And then how do people use natural interaction like natural language processing, or when we type prompts into Siri or into ChatGPT? And what is the societal impact? So we're looking at these 5 different sort of lenses when we're talking about the foundations of AI literacy, not just how to teach kids how to use tools. So there are a few things I think for us with AI, child safety and well-being is a non-negotiable. And there's a few things I want to talk about here. First, in terms of safety, we do not generate text or media, so we do not use generative AI at the moment. We feel that currently, as it stands, generative AI can be made safer, but not safe enough to put in the hands of kids. So we just don't use it at the moment. I don't think the move fast and break thing is a good approach when we're dealing with very vulnerable children. And we do not anthropomorphize AI. What does this mean? It means we don't give AI human-like capabilities or like get kids to think that they're interacting with another human being. I think that creates very unhealthy emotional bonds. We want AI design which is fair, that has been trained on fair model skills, understand how those models have been trained, and that's accessible for all. We use universal design guidelines to ensure that it's accessible by kids with a wide range of needs and learning abilities. AI should be transparent. Do you understand what model cards are? So model cards describe how an AI model has been trained, where has the data come from, what kind of people have fed into that data, what is the geographic spread of that information that is there in that model. So it's really important when we talk about AI models, going back to the black box analogy, that kids don't look at AI as this kind of magical black box, but they're actually understanding what is behind the data that drives this model. And that we respect privacy. So here we are being very practical at LEGO Education. You saw me briefly bring up the coding canvas, which I'll show you. So it is a coding experience for the kids. But everything there is no login. No data leaves the computer to go to a cloud. It doesn't come to us. It doesn't go to a third party. When they're using the AI machine, and you'll see me use with my face, I'm going to try to make that model move a little bit. It's only interested in my X and Y coordinates and my skeleton. So even when the model is being trained by the kids, it's only using X, Y coordinates in the skeleton. It's discarding any images. So kids are also being taught that you should not give your data away on all of these apps for other AI models to train on your data. They should respect your privacy, and you should protect your data, your personal information. So that is a really important principle to teach very early on with kids. So building all these principles, I'm excited to introduce LEGO Education, Computer Science, and AI. For those of you who want a deeper dive of this product, we have a booth as well, that direction, like 1 minute there, at the LEGO booth. Go and see the models, touch them, and interact with them as well. So we introduced this product in January. It'll be available in market in April. It's part of LEGO Education's policy to bring engaging and collaborative learning experiences within today's classrooms. So last year we launched a science product and the computer science and AI product together with the first LEGO League. I don't know if you've heard of First LEGO League. It's an annual STEM competition that kids also take part in. So these are the 3 core products that are part of our portfolio. So I'll talk a little bit more about computer science and AI. But as we talk about core classrooms and computer science and AI, what needs to be true for this to work in a core classroom? Core classroom subjects are 40 minutes long, roughly. They need to align to some kind of standards coverage to a curriculum. It needs to be simple for the kids. It needs to be simple for the teachers. It needs to be engaging, and that's why obviously we feel LEGO is very engaging for kids. And here's an interesting statistic on AI literacy. 85% of teachers see AI literacy as a priority, but how many of them feel confident to teach this in classrooms? Most teachers today who are teaching computer science in a lot of schools I've interacted with are not even computer science by education. They are science teachers, math teachers, even English teachers who are trying to teach computer science. So it has to be, they have to have the confidence to be able to teach this in a classroom in a 40-minute lesson. So I'm going to show you another video. Hopefully the audio works this time. Is the product with an example of a real classroom in the US.
For whatever they love, wherever they're headed in life. In a world where computer science and AI are everywhere, we help them build the skills they need to excel.
I'm gonna try something.
I already clicked on but we... Oh, yeah!
Oh, really cool. Hey, I want to build a roller coaster or something like that.
For every teacher, new to computer science or already experienced, we've got you covered.
I did it!
So this product is intended to be very hands-on, collaborative, and I'll get into what I mean by collaboration, and really be led by students in their exploration journey as they explore computer science. As I said, for teachers, we need to meet teachers where they are. We need to meet teachers in the confidence levels they are and make it very simple for them to get started with this. So just in summary of this, designing it for a core classroom means it needs to fit in 45-minute lessons, or I think in India it's 40-minute lessons, or 30 to 40-minute lessons, aligned to curriculum, low preparation time, and it is an extensive curriculum. So I'm going to focus on the AI bits today, but it includes all the concepts of computer science as well before you even hit AI as well. We follow something called the 5E model of engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. But I mean, in a simple way, the kids start with a big question. Like with this lesson that they have, the AI dance, so they start with, how could I make my robot dance? And then they go into the computer science concept of pre-trained classifiers or custom classifiers. So that's a very complex concept they're learning. Then they work in groups of 4 and they build this model together. And then they code it, they train the AI model, and then they make it work. So you're really following through this process, and then they also explain this to the classroom. So they're also practicing their presentation and communication skills. And then they go back and they elaborate further. So some kids will make the robot look fancier, they'll do some interesting things. Some will tinker with the code. So they will iterate the code and make it more engaging as well. So all kids, if they're interested in computer science, they're also interested in building, have something meaningful to engage with. So across, we have K to 2, 3 to 5, and 6 to 8, or 5 plus, 8 plus, and 11 plus. We have 90 lessons with over 160 hours of learning. These cover a range of topics from basics, hardware, events, sequences, loops, conditionals, variables. I don't know how many of you are computer science experts here in the room or studied computer science. So we've got a few people. So some of you know what I'm talking about here, but I think these are they're meant to be very simple concepts to introduce to kids. And AI and data comes at the end. These are all aligned to global standards. There's a CSTS standards, and localized and to local standards as well. Keep in mind, currently there are no AI standards, so we've tried to ground it in the data standards, but we're keeping an eye on the evolving AI standards as they're developing as well. But they're closely aligned to what I shared earlier. Each of these little check boxes represents one unit, and each unit includes 4 lessons where kids progressively learn through a concept and they're building as well. So they're learning a concept about AI, or they're learning a concept about loops, and they're building different models. And at the end, it ends with a design challenge, which is more open-ended. So where they can problem solve more openly. They are not given so much instructions as much as like do a project with your teammates to solve something with this concept you just learned. I talked about collaboration earlier. What does collaboration mean here? So I said that kids would work in groups of 4 around these kits. Currently, we see kids like learning computer science on their screen with their headphones by themselves. That is not the kids we want to see in the future. We want to see kids who are working together, coding together, building together, and building these life skills that they need in the job market eventually that they'll end up in. So our vision is here. You can see the kids sitting around a table. They're building some Lego. They're coding, and they're trying out their thing. And they're really working in this project-based methodology. In terms of the coding canvas, so again, I think you saw this briefly. It's a Blockly-based, very lightweight coding canvas that allows kids to code in word blocks. And then for the really little ones, it uses something called icon blocks. So it's with those who can't even read yet. The lessons are really, it brings really curated blocks tied to the lesson. I must stress here on the coding canvas, again, no login, no data transmitted from here. So extremely safe for the students, for the parents to know, for the teachers to know, nothing ever leaves the device. It works on very low-tech devices like Google Chromebooks or on an iPad app as well. And it works more or less offline. I say more or less. We are trying to make it fully offline as well, but it's quite lightweight as well. To support the teachers, we have a teacher experience as well. So the teachers have a platform where they get all of these lessons, they get facilitation notes, all the resources that they need to teach in a classroom successfully. As I said, teachers lack this confidence, they need the support to teach this. So they get all the guiding prompts, they get all the instructions that take them through this process and helps them prepare even before they go into the classroom. So now getting into AI. So I'm going to try to show you a demo here as well. But how do we make AI learning hands-on, understandable, and safe for a student? So the goal here is to really provide the students with this AI literacy capabilities, helping them experiment with some of these core concepts I was mentioning earlier of perception and probabilistic thinking and logic. It should be age appropriate, it should be safe, and the result is AI literacy. So I think I really want to differentiate here between using AI on kids and kids learning about AI. And even in AI literacy, as I said, there's a difference between kids learning about tools and kids creating these tools. So I think this is really very tangible for us and really important as well. So here I'm always going to try, let me do the demo with a video first, and then we can see if I can pull off the live one. So this is the coding canvas. And here you can see that the kids are seeing the probability. So there's hand up, hand down, both hands up. So kids are learning, like in computer science, you got zeros and ones. Things are binary, on and off. With AI, it's making a probabilistic guess. It's 70, 80, 90% sure based on the data that is hands up or left hand up or right hand up. And then based on that probabilistic guess, then it's telling through the coding here, if left arm up, which is based on a 70% guess, then run the left motor and then lift the left hand up and then put it down. And similarly for the right. So they start with very simple concepts of pre-trained classifier, a model that has already been trained. And from here, they will then progress onto let me just jump here first. So from this pre-trained classifier, they'll jump to a custom classifier where they'll build their own model. They'll learn that the more data they feed into the model, the better the model gets. They'll learn that if only one kid trains the data, it won't be so accurate when the friend tries to use a model. So they learn about bias as well. They learn that if models are only trained with fewer people, that models tend to be biased as well. And then finally, that moves on to something called body sensing, where it can use real-time X and Y coordinates from the student and use that to bring emotion. So I'm going to give you a glimpse inside a classroom of how this works, and I'll keep the demo for the end in case you don't have questions. Loose the cable. You can see it though, so just use your imagination. It's okay, the wire is not good for tomorrow. Just it's fine. It's fine. So you're getting a sense of how they're using it in the classroom. They're building, they're coding, and they're training the model as well. And that's the model that you'll see that I'll demo in a second. So you can see the high level of engagement as well here. The kids are having fun with it as well. So it's not something like boring. They're trying to open up this black box, as I said. and it's really bringing engagement as well to the classroom. You can see how they're sharing as well, and what happens in terms of, I don't know if you know what pair programming is. So two of the kids have now will spend more time on the code, two will spend more time in the building, and then they'll swap. So you're building real collaboration as well into the building and coding process, so all kids have time to code and use the AI as well. Apologies, the sound didn't work, but this is also then the learning objective. So I can create a custom classifier, I can use pose data to trade a custom classifier, I can describe these. So they're learning real learning objectives as well coming out of this. And this is tied, this is at the end, as I mentioned, of a unit of instruction. Okay, I'll move on from here. So just in summary, LEGO Education, computer science and AI is a solution that is impactful, meaningful, and relevant. So it meets teachers where they are, empowering them to deliver hands-on computer science and AI learning in their classroom. It makes computer science and AI instruction hands-on. When I say hands-on, I don't mean just practice-based, but actually hands-on. They're using their hands to build, collaborative and is student-led. And every student can believe that computer science is for me. I think one thing you notice as well with these models, like it's not like this scary looking robot or some kind of a car only. So at LEGO, we have things called play passions. It could be like Star Wars or Harry Potter, but it could be flowers, it could be fantasy. So even in the lessons, we are trying to touch a wide range of subjects. So whether you're a boy, you're a girl, whether you're into music, you're into art, you're into dancing, you're into robots, you're into sport, that you see yourself in computer science. So I think we want to see not just the nerdy kids. I would say I was a nerdy kid. I started computer science, my computer science club in Delhi about 25 years ago. But I think it should be appealing to all kids who want to get into computer science and AI. So this is just a summary. Let me try now to do the more difficult thing of trying to make the demo work. So this is,
Can you wait for 5 minutes? He need 5 minutes to connect.
it's okay, I think I can show it from here. I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So one thing I also want to show you here, by default, the camera is off as well. So it's also showing kids that that's an explicit action they need to take around privacy, that camera should not be on by default. When I turn it on, you first see me here, but then very quickly I blur away, and you can see that it's only interested in my head and my stick figure. So here you can see me lifting my hands up. Actually, I'm going to ask for a volunteer. Who wants to come up on stage? Come on. Do you want to come up? Okay, I've got a volunteer. Okay, you can also come if you want. So what you have here is, you can try lifting one hand. Stop looking, sorry, just want to stop it. Okay, bring it a bit closer. I'm going to hold it here for you guys to see. Okay. So he's moving his hands, and you can see that the probabilities as well is changing there, right? And can you see the code as well here is lighting up, depending upon, thank you for being very good. So you can see my left arm up, it's moving the left motor, and then with right arm up is moving the right motor. Thank you. And I think it's really important kids here can also see when, sorry, I'm going to do this here. You want to hold this? Yeah, thank you. So when they are also looking at things like the probability, they can see how much, and it needs to cross a certain threshold for this to activate as well. I think that's my demo, so I would like to leave it open then for questions. Do we have time for questions? Yep. Cool. Okay.
Hi. Yeah. Hey, very interesting concept. I love this. So I'm Raghav. We are a brand technology company. We work with a lot of education institutions for gamification of learning and things like that. So one challenge which we always face is, especially in Indian ecosystem, is learning happens in classroom. Some of those learning doesn't get translated beyond classroom. And sometimes there's breaks when you're transferring from one stage to another. So my question is, is there, I didn't see this here, so I just want to know, beyond the box and beyond the stages, is there something built into this so that the kids are able to involve or interact with it beyond the classroom?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So Lego Education's history is outside of the classroom, actually. It started 30 years ago. Have you heard of Mindstorms? The robotic solution that there was a hub and it had different motors and sensors. This is still working. It's going to still doing my thing. Okay. So the history of, you go here now. So we did a lot of work because we feel that we wanted to bring computer science and AI curriculum to a larger group of kids, right? But the reality is that our products are also very much used in the robotics and enrichment and after-school space for kids who have more than the 45 minutes, so kids who want to do more. A very good example I have is First Lego League. First Lego League, I think I showed very briefly on the first slide, is this annual competition of STEM. So kids form teams of 8, and they have a science theme and a robotics challenge that they have to solve together. But we also see robotics clubs where kids will do much more than what they do in the class. So they'll build like incredible creations. We are so inspired every day. So if you go on the Lego Education YouTube channel, you'll see a lot of like cool examples of what kids can do if they're given more time and space. So we want to reach more kids. So that's why the 45-minute lessons and building a model like that. But I've seen models which are 10 times bigger and 10 times cooler than this as well. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Cool. Thank you so much for joining. Hopefully you found it interesting as well.